time is here. The moment is upon us. It's time for the Downforce Grand Prix World Series season finale at the Laguna Seca in Monterey, California, the 15th and final race of the year. And boy, oh boy, do we have a show for you. It's going to be a great showdown in the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship in the Minecraft of motorsport for race managers rather than sim racers. All the managers have had to do through the course of the season is pick an ex-Formula 1 team that never won a Grand Prix. No manufacturers permitted. Ex-F1 drivers that didn't win a race are the ones that they get to choose as their drivers. They can pick any engine supplier no longer racing in F1, any tyre company of their choice, and they choose what happens. Updates every couple of races. Prize money is awarded to them based on how well they perform. And that is how the season has played out. This is the season finale, and we're here at Laguna Seca. 14 races have gone by, and we have got some absolutely incredible battles to come in this final race of the year. Before we go into the nitty-gritty of the race battle, and of course before we speak to our managers down in the green room on Discord, we will be having a look at how things stand up to this point. There are only two drivers now who can win the title after the nitty-gritty of this incredible season. Jean-Eric Vergne and Brendon Hartley are now the only two who can become champion, and they will battle for supremacy here at Laguna Seca. The battle for third is still pretty intense though. Kobayashi, De La Rosa, Jenny and Lotterer are all in the mix along with Nico Hulkenberg. Degrassi hoping for one final points performance before he bows out of the team. Stoffel Van Dorn climbing the table with Jaime Alguersuari and Timo Glock up in the mix there as well. There's still plenty of opportunities for the others to creep up the table. We've got the likes of Paul Di Resta and Alexander Rossi still in the fray along with Sebastian Bourdais. No Boemi and no Heidfeld, but Scott Dixon is making a good impression and raced to a brilliant third position last time out at Vancouver. Davidson, Wehrlein and Courtney all still with good opportunities to score big points. And then, of course, the final stragglers, the likes of Robin Freins climbing up the table. Gabriele Tarquini has a chance to overtake Bruno Senna, who's no longer on the grid. Pedro Diniz and Susie Wolf, alongside Marcus Ericsson, Taki Inui, Takuma Sato, Luciano Berti, and Jean-Denis Delatraz round out the field. However, the one that all of the managers care about is the team standings. And BAR Playlife and Mana are the two locked in combat for the title. There are still an incredible 45 points available from the weekend, but pole position has gone the way of Prost, and therefore now there's only 44 points available for this season finale, and that means that Arrows are no longer in contention for the Constructors' title race. It is just down to BAR versus Mana, but the third position fight is still going to be pretty intense between Arrows, Prost, Super Aguri, AGS and Minardi are close together. Simtech are catching up the field with Onyx, Lola, BMS Italia, followed by Midland and 40. Obviously, the race battles have been pretty close all the way through the season, and we should inform you that with this Grand Prix season coming to an end, very shortly there's going to be a game for touring car fans. You can choose to race either the British Touring Car Championship or the Super Touring era from the mid-90s. There are teams that are going to be available on our Facebook and Discord groups. All you have to do if you want to play is email us, downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. If you're not in the group already, if you're not on Facebook and Discord with us, then we can add you to the conversations. And you can choose which teams you want to go racing. If we have enough teams interested, then we can run separate grids for works and independence entries. The love of touring cars is why we're doing it. The love of the motorsport is obviously the prime concern. It'll be a British touring car based series, so only British circuits will be considered. We might do a one-off race somewhere else, but an absolutely fantastic season is coming. So before we go underway with racing here at Laguna Seca, let's head down to the green room and have a natter with our team managers who are on tenterhooks as to how this final race of the season is going to go. And obviously there are two team managers in particular who are very nervous about this final race of the year because there is a championship on the line and they want to be at the sharp end of the field at the end of it all. So let's head down to the green room and have a natter with our team managers. First of all, let's chat to Ryan Ferris of the Onyx team. Ryan, it is great to have you with us for this season finale, although he has just disappeared. There is a little bit of an issue with our Discord tonight for some strange reason, so we will continue the race as far as we can without them. Let's grab a word with one of the team managers in the title fight, and that is Mana Motorsport. Sam Hall, team boss of the squad. This comeback fight has been incredible the last few races. 2 wins in a row for Brendon Hartley puts him right into the hunt, but starting from 12th on the grid is definitely going to make life tough for him.
Yeah, to be honest, a couple of races ago, we thought we might be in the hunt for Constructors' Championship, but we never really thought we'd be in the hunt for the Drivers' title as well. So yeah, if we can well, if we can take one of those titles, I'll be very happy. You've already said we've got quite a low grid start. It's been a bit of an Achilles heel for us qualifying all year. So, yeah, hopefully, I don't know what the strategists have done, but I'm hoping they've put them on one-stop strategies, and that might pull us into things and make it an exciting end to the race and season.
So this is obviously going to be a very exciting one. It's a long race, of course, as well, 77 laps, and it's a tough circuit with a lot of camber changes. It's fast, it's flowing. Who do you think is going to have the best possible chance of catching the Prost today?
It'll probably. I don't know. Out of our two drivers, it will be Hartley who's got the best chance, because I hear we've built we've built Lucas to retire at about lap 36, I think. So yeah, we'll do well with Hartley, but not so much with Lucas.
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks indeed for your update. Tom Cairns, team boss of the Prost team. It's another front row of the grid for Prost. Another brilliant performance from them. But what you guys really want to do here is bow out of the season with a victory. And if you could do so, that could even put you third in the team standings.
And that will most definitely end our season on a high, Jake, given that the first 4 races we had no points on the board. So to finish third in the championship, to leapfrog Arrows, who have been struggling over the last few races especially, it would be really, really good for us. It would be good for morale. It would definitely be good morale for Pedro over Jaime going into season 2. So, and I think that we've done really, really well, and we deserve to be where we are in the standings. If we can end that with a 1-2 finish, and we might be our own team in the Group C Challenge yesterday, got a 1-2 finish in Sanson. So if they can do that there, then I can't see why my Prost cars can't do it over in Laguna Seca.
Sounding pretty exciting to me. Thanks, Tom. Looking forward to seeing how your guys get on. Let's head over to the AGS camp, and Phil Kinch is there, ready to go racing with his 2 cars, Alexander Rossi and Andre Lotterer. Started the season as a championship contender. It's kind of flitted and trailed off in the mid-season, but you guys are focusing on getting to the finish to try and score some big points. Can you overtake Minardi and stay in position in the team's championship?
That's the big question. Yeah, we started off with a lot of promise at the start of the season, and it has tailed off quite dramatically. Whilst the cars in the first half seemed to have speed and had some edges in qualifying, everything just seems to have gone backwards, really. So today we're really looking just for points finishes. If we can score points to stay ahead of Minardi, that'd be great. That's really the aim. It's just to get points finishes and see what we can do. It's been an interesting first season, very challenging first season, and we want to see if we can go out with a bang today.
Well, obviously, the team that they are fighting with in the championship is Minardi. Let's see if we can have a word with Alex Goldschmidt. I know there's been some technical problems before, but Alex Goldschmidt is preparing for the action with the Minardi team. A 3rd position in Buenos Aires has really kept you guys in the hunt here. Can you finish in the top 6 in the team standings?
Well, fingers crossed on that front, Jake. I've managed to sort out the technical issues on the pit wall here. We had an electrical outage, and then then the Wi-Fi decided, oh, well, I'm going to join the party too. Yes, that has really put us into the hunt. I mean, it's, obviously we've just made a major announcement, reference our squad for next season, so I'll be back at the helm for Minardi for season 2. This is going to be Anthony's last race, but he wants to go out on a high. Mark's been really, really good at just keeping things going, and we'll see how things pan out. But yeah, it's kept us in the hunt. I'm hoping that we get Mark in the top 5 by the end of the season, and hopefully Anthony has a good, strong showing on his last attempt with us here at Minardi before he moves.
Sounds good to me. Good luck with everything over at Minardi today. And finally, last but definitely not least, let's have a word with the Simtech team boss, Scott Woodwiss. Fresh off the back of 3 straight wins in Group C with the Peugeot Sport team, into the final race of the year for Simtech. And I know what you guys are up for here. You've made massive strides after some reliability difficulties mid-season. A 3rd and 4th last time out at Canada, but I know what you guys are focused on. You've come to the Laguna Seca with one objective: bow out with a win. Scott Woodwiss, or is that the crafty mute button getting the better of you on that particular occasion? I think it might have been. It's a Saturday.
It was, yeah.
It's a Saturday race day. Who cares?
I'm still not fully awake. No, because we're at partying California last night. My head. Anyway,
that's a story for another time.
No, I'm totally kidding. He looks rather nervous too. No, what I was saying was a win would be nice, but I think being realistic. I think if we can get at least one car on the podium today, it'd be quite nice. truthfully, our aim today is going to be, being bullish. We want fifth in the team. It's very, very close between us and the 3 cars in front. I think if we can outscore all of them by at least 12 points, which is a big ask, but it does require us to have a little bit of luck and our cars getting to the end, which I think, given all the reliability work that's been done recently, is not out of the question. Scott put in a great drive last time at Vancouver, and that just shows how much he can do when he's under pressure. I mean, he went down from lead to last and then tore his way back up on a street circuit to 3rd place, which was sensational. So, and we've always known our cars have been a little bit stronger over a race distance than in qualifying. So I think if Scott can get a good start, because our guys do normally get good starts, if they can push themselves up a few spots in the opening laps and then just keep the pressure on throughout the stints, who knows, we could get a good result and pick something up. Yeah, it'd be nice to finish with a decent result. I don't want to go bullish and say we're definitely going to win this race. It'd be nice if we could, but starting towards the bottom of the top 10, it's going to be a little bit tougher, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully we can bow out here in California in a nice way, get some good points, and hopefully if things do go our way, fingers crossed, we can maybe even be inside the top 5 in points. If we can get both cars finishing strongly, I don't see why that couldn't happen.
You can't preview this race any better than that. Good luck to our team managers. It's time to go racing at Laguna Seca. There is a title on the line for both championships, the drivers and the teams, and we are ready to go racing here at Laguna Seca. Hang on to your hats. It's going to be a good one. As it's the season finale, we thought we'd shake it up a bit and do the grid by showing you the vintage Grand Prix 2 race screen. De La Rosa and Alguersuari lining up their Prost on the front row of the starting grid for this one, with Jean-Eric Vergne, title contender, in 3rd position, alongside Robin Freins. Nico Hulkenberg and Takuma Sato line up together on the 3rd row of the grid, with Scott Dixon and Paul di Resta in the Lola next up. Stoffel Van Dorn lines up beside Lucas Di Grassi in 10th, Kamui Kobayashi alongside championship contender Brendon Hartley, down on only row 6. Pascal Wehrlein and Timo Glock come next up, with Sebastian Bourdais lining up on the 8th row of the grid alongside Andre Lotterer in the AGS. And then we've got Minardi's Marc Genet alongside BMS Italia driver James Courtney. Alexander Rossi lines up 21st on the grid from Gabriele Tarquini. And then at the back of the grid, we've got Antonio Felix da Costa from Marcus Ericsson, Pedro Diniz and Anthony Davidson. And then the 240s are together in 25th and 26th on the starting grid, Taki Inui and Jean-Denis Delatraz. So, time to go racing here at Laguna Seca as we are prepared for action here in America. This is going to be a very tough race for all concerned. They know what's at stake. The championship fight is going to come to them. A top 3 finish for Vergne would seal the title no matter what happens. Here we go. Green lights ablaze, and Di Resta's going to get a great start from 8th on the grid, charging his way forward in the Lola as the rest of the field storms their way through. Damage already. Oh, Diniz has lost the rear wing. Diniz has lost the rear wing as they go up the crest and on their way towards the first hairpin. But De La Rosa's got the lead from Vergne. That's the critical start. So De La Rosa is well away in the Prost and is immediately taken the gauntlet further forward and jumped his way up the order. That is absolutely sensational stuff. So De La Rosa with a great start. Vergne is second. Freins, Di Grassi, Alguersuari and Sato next up. Di Resta, despite the great start, is now in 7th place. So De La Rosa's got into a good position. Robin Freins dropping back there. And Di Grassi is in 4th position. What a start from Lucas Di Grassi. The Manor has got himself right up there into P4, trying to have a go on the inside there of the Super Aguri, and has not been able to make the move stick. Here comes Alguersuari. He's trying to get his move done on Di Grassi now as they get into the braking zone for the corkscrew for the first time. And a lovely move from Alguersuari, who got the move done on the inside line there on the drop down the hill. And here's De La Rosa into the penultimate turn. A massive way through here at Laguna Seca. The field continues on its way. There's De La Rosa over the line at the end of the first lap from Vergne, Freins, Alguersuari, Di Grassi, Sato, Di Resta and Stoffel Van Dorn. Jean-Eric Vergne has already got a massive problem out of the way with the start, as James Courtney bows up the inside of Pascal Wehrlein to try and get into 11th position, and that has not worked out. So, an absolutely sensational race start from Jean-Eric Vergne puts the championship leader right into title-winning contention. So let's see how well this race goes off for Pedro de la Rosa, the Prost in the lead. 77 laps of this gorgeous WeatherTech raceway, and it's been decked out in traditional colour schemes and adverts to really give us a Grand Prix feel. Oh, big mistake there from Delatraz. He's lost a couple of positions in the 40. Make that 3 positions in the 40 as the AGS goes through, and his teammate Taki Inui has gone through as well. So the good start initially from Delatraz is now wasted as he drops to the back of the field. Antonio Felix da Costa in the Lola really struggling at the back of the field in this one. Diniz, they've incredibly managed to get the rear wing repaired on that car pretty quickly. They've just taken off the bolt and put a new one on, and out he goes. So De La Rosa leads the way. 1.8 seconds in front of Vergne. Frines is third in the Super Aguri, trying to fend off from Alguersuari, who's all over the back of him as they come through the hairpin. This was always going to be a very tough race, and in Grand Prix mode at the circuit here at Laguna Seca, quite different. A lot of updates have been made just for this particular race meeting. But Nico Hulkenberg is trying hard. Whoops, Scott Dixon in trouble. What's happened there to Dixon? What's happened to Dixon? Suspension failure. Suspension failure for Dixon. And that is, unfortunately, a disastrous race retirement for him. Let's have a look and see what happened, because he's had a suspension failure to retire from the race. But I wonder if there was more to it than that. Yes, look, the suspension failure just sheared and broke the front wing in the process. So an absolute disaster there for Dixon. And I'm afraid that is the Simtech race very much compromised. I think any chance they might have had of getting top 6 in the Constructors' Championship is definitely gone with Dixon. And there is Pedro Diniz, the man who was behind him. A lot of damage already starting in the early part of the race with a rear wing missing for Diniz. Oh, Alguersuari's popped up into 3rd place. He's got past Robin Frines. So as we were so busy watching Dixon's retirement, Alguersuari popped himself up into 3rd position. And obviously the drivers are going to want to bow out of this season on a high. So Stoffel Van Dorn dueling away with Brendon Hartley in 9th position. But as it stands, Vergne is going to be champion. Hartley in 9th place is not where he needs to be to get the championship done. Takuma Sato battling away for 6th position with Paul Di Resta as Pascal Wehrlein tries to fend off from the attacking James Courtney. And Nico Hulkenberg is right in there behind Brendon Hartley as well. So already there's been some big moments in this first couple of laps, and drivers are swarming around trying to get the tyres up to temperature and obviously trying to get the best out of their cars in the early phase of racing. Pascal Wehrlein trying to move up the order. And Brendon Hartley having an attack at Stoffel Van Dorn has not been able to get through. So let's have a look at the race strategies at this point. We're on lap 4. De La Rosa's got another 20 laps or so in the can, as has Jean-Eric Vergne. Alguersuari on the same strategy, Frines likewise. I predict 2 stop strategies pretty much throughout the field here. And certainly in amongst the top 10, they're all going down that route, although there's a chance that Van Dorn and Hartley might be going down a 3-stop strategy route. So they are ones to watch in this one, as a couple of others might be going down that way as well. Maybe Lotterer and Courtney doing the same thing. Kobayashi, Bourdais and Gene all pretty much on the 2-stop strategy route. So there are a couple of drivers who are going to potentially try out a 3-stop strategy route, or they might convert it again into another 2-stopper. But it's certainly not clear-cut how this race is going to be playing out here at Laguna Seca. So this is going to be an absolutely fantastic battle here at Laguna Seca. There's Takuma Sato, currently running in P6, chasing down Lucas Di Grassi after his initial firecracker start. Jean-Eric Vergne is splitting the 2 Prosts at the moment as the field works its way around. So this is all going to be about driver composure and keeping yourself calm under pressure. As Jean-Eric Vergne in 2nd position, it's his title to lose here. He's in front of Brendon Hartley in 9th position and looking pretty strong. Takuma Sato, having a bit of an issue there as he duelled with Lucas Di Grassi, had to bail out of the throttle. And now Paul Di Resta in the Lola is going to have a go on the inside line. Has not quite been able to make that work as Nico Hulkenberg tries to get his way through as well. And again is really struggling to make that one work. So Della Rosa, Vergne, Alguersuari, Frines, Di Grassi, Sato is the top 6. Alex Rossi trying to move up out of the bottom 6. Although, of course, we have one retirement, namely Scott Dixon in the Simtech. A real shame that the suspension failure has come to him. It's a tough old circuit here, though, so he may have had an issue in the first couple of laps and a little nudge with one or two drivers, and that might have dislodged the suspension anyway, so slight damage there. Jean-Eric Vergne in second position. So far, so good. Brendon Hartley in P9 in the manor. And obviously, we need to keep an eye on those two very, very clearly. If one of them retires, then the other one is almost certainly going to be on the run to the championship. So, Gabriele Tarquini running out in front of Alexander Rossi. The AGS team trying to keep their in touch with BMS Italia. There are some difficulties, we are told, with our camera system here at Laguna Seca. All sorts of glitches, but as long as you can see the race itself in the main bulk, then all is well. But there are a few dodgy camera positions, unfortunately, as Alex Goldschmidt readily points out. But this season finale of the Grand Prix World Series is definitely rip-roaring us with racecraft now. We've had some terrific races through the season. Kyalami in South Africa, to Marrakesh in Morocco, Bathurst in Australia, to Taupo in New Zealand, then across Europe, to Estoril in Portugal, Brno in the Czech Republic, Pau in France, Birmingham in Great Britain on the Super Prix circuit, then Helsinki, Chennai in India, Shah Alam in Malaysia, Fuji in Japan, and the last two races at Buenos Aires in Argentina and Vancouver in Canada. And here we are at Laguna Seca. What a great way to end our first season in the Retro Racing Managers League. We've had an absolutely sensational run. Whoops, Robin Frines getting it very wrong at corkscrew. Manages to save the car. You can actually see the car getting a tiny bit airborne there as he locked up and ended up rolling off the brake. And the car actually got a couple of millimetres off the deck there by the look of it. So obviously it is a tricky part of the course, corkscrew. Oh, what's happened to Pascal Wehrlein? Wehrlein's had a problem. Let's go and have a look at it. Wehrlein's had a spin. Wehrlein's had a spin and broken the front wing. And he's beached it in the gravel trap. So Pascal Wehrlein out of the race. Now that is critical as far as the Constructors' Championship is concerned, because of course with Pascal Wehrlein out of the race, there the car is being manoeuvred out. That's one car that can't score points for BAR today. So that is a scary moment then for Tom Butterworth, team manager, but it looked as though Pascal Wehrlein went off the circuit on his own there, damaged the front nose cone, and unfortunately ended up in the gravel. So that is a very difficult situation. Sam Hall deliberately trying to make me corpse on screen by pointing out that you've caught a glimpse of me commentating in my pants. How dare you, I wear hot pants. Tarquini on the back of the AGS. And the Lola there in 21st position behind us now. That is Antonio Felix da Costa trying to make up ground. There's Delatraz in the 40. And his stablemate is Taki Inui. So Delatraz and Inui are actually racing each other now. They've figured out, I think, that they're unlikely to overtake Midland in the team standings. They'll end up at the back of the grid at the end of the season. Dave Goddard doesn't seem to mind too much about that. They just want to finish races, essentially, at 40. But Delatraz and Inui have decided, well, there's one race to go in the championship. We're going to race each other. Inui has 7 points from the season. Delatraz has 2. As Sebastian Bourdais in the Onyx, trying to get close and personal with Kamui Kobayashi. And now Marc Gené's going to get his crack up the inside line. Can Gené go for the move? No, he had to hesitate there. Bourdais was going to chop across him. And then in behind in 16th position, we obviously had Marcus Ericsson trying to get through. So Takuma Sato having a go at Lucas Di Grassi, but he's obviously got some work there. And as Dave Goddard rightfully points out, that comment has put everybody off their barbecue. Let's move on, shall we? Bless you all. It's good old fun. Tom Butterworth has obviously pointed out that Pascal Wehrlein's seat at BAR is numbered. He went so well at the Friday test session for young drivers at the Brno circuit in the Czech Republic mid-season, so they obviously felt he might do a better job than Sebastian Buemi. But all in all, Wehrlein was not really a better replacement, you have to say, for Sebastian Buemi. They should have just stuck with him, essentially. Apparently, they're all getting ready with the end-of-season party food here at Laguna Seca. There's going to be a monumental party tonight at Monterey, California, amongst all of our virtual managers. Stoffel Van Dorn gets onto the tail of Paul Di Resta. So this is going to be an absolutely sensational battle. out of the final turn and down the main straight. Marc Genet up to 15th position, so he has managed to get that move done on the Super Aguri of Timo Glock. That's down in 17th place, in fact. Ericsson is 16th and Glock is down to 17th, so problems there for the Super Aguri. There's the other one, and they've got problems. A gearbox failure. Gearbox failure for Robin Freins. So Robin Freins is in trouble, and unfortunately the Super Aguri is pulling off. That is a devastating retirement for the team. So Robin Freins from P4 is now out of it, and that's not good news for Topher Smith. Looks as though Super Aguri's chances in this race have taken a massive hammer. And that's De La Rosa! De La Rosa's crashed at the corkscrew! I don't believe it! De La Rosa's overshot, and the car is destroyed! Let's have a look at that again. We're going to have a look at this one from a multitude of different angles. De La Rosa comes up to the corkscrew, misses his braking point, boom! And got airborne. The car is destroyed. Absolutely incredible scenario, and that puts Vergne in the lead. Let's watch again as we go on board with De La Rosa up and over the corkscrew. He just lost his braking. Look, loses the car, boom. And the car is obliterated. That is the crash of the season in the final race of the year. I want to see it again from on board the rear of the car. Here's De La Rosa into the corkscrew. Misses his braking point. Over the curbs. And bang as he comes to land. Oh dear. Well, I did not expect that from Pedro De La Rosa, but the race is well and truly over for the half of the Prost team. And he's crashed it from the lead. So, Pedro De La Rosa out of the race here at Laguna Seca, and that's how easy it is to crash out at Laguna Seca. You go over the corkscrew and end up getting a little bit airborne over those curbs. You come back to land, and there's so much damage to the car. Well, not good news for Pedro De La Rosa. So he retires from his last race of the season. And as Rapid Scorpion, aka Scott Woodwis, points out, that was full yeet. Lucas Di Grassi now finds himself in third place as a result of all of that. Freins out, and now De La Rosa out. So Vergne is the new leader. Hartley is up to 7th. So that is an absolutely phenomenal moment in this race, and it's devastating bad luck for Prost, because it means they genuinely don't have much of a chance now of overcoming their rivals in the championship. And that is a big lesson to all of the other competitors in the team as to how to take the corkscrew. Don't mess up like that, because if you do, that's game over. Alex Ray is giving us the one-word expletive for that one. It was quite a pleasant one, actually, by comparison to all the others. But a fascinating moment. And certainly for Prost, it's game over. De La Rosa making a driving error there, pushing too hard, and unfortunately, game over. Well, Alguersuari is left to hold the mantle for the Prost team in second place, 1.9 seconds behind Jean-Eric Vergne, who is gunning for his 4th win of the season. So that is an absolutely incredible battle for the championship that we've now been ignited. De La Rosa has disappeared from the fray, but we now know roughly what's going to happen if anybody messes up at the corkscrew from now on, because that is not a kind corner to Grand Prix cars. There's Jean-Eric Vergne leading the way. Alguersuari in second. Di Grassi in third. Tarquini has to go on the inside of the AGS to get through into position. And of course, there is a championship fight on our hands here. Now, Hartley can win the championship if he finishes in the top 3 and Vergne fails to score. If Vergne finishes in third place, no matter where Hartley finishes, then he will be champion. Alex Reyes wants to know, where is Brendon Hartley? He's in 7th place. So he is currently looking at 6 points, which is not going to be enough to overhaul Vergne, especially with Vergne in the lead of the race. So there's still quite a lot to come in this. Kamui Kobayashi locking up. Careful. Cuts right across Bordet as well. Kamui Kobayashi so nearly threw it away there in the arrows. Just about saves it. But already a very dramatic start to the race, as 4 of the big guns have lost one of their drivers. Dixon in the Simtech, Pascal Wehrlein in the BAR, Robin Freins in the Super Aguri, and Pedro De La Rosa from the lead in the Prost. All out, and we're on lap 13 of 77 here. Jean-Eric Vergne in the BAR leads here on the team's second home, essentially. Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtech trying to get away from Brendon Hartley, who is fighting for the championship. Stoffel the Waffle running in 6th position. I use that nickname because Ed Hunter likes to use it, one of our team bosses in the Group C Challenge, and apparently he wants to come on board for Grand Prix. If you're watching along and thinking, I would love to be a team manager in this sport, well, all you have to do is email us, downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. We'll add you to the Facebook group. Oh, and that's a mistake from Bourdais. Bourdais making the mistake and Genet sweeping right through. I want to see that one again because Sebastian Bourdais got that very badly wrong. Let's have a look at the Onyx as he comes through. Now, it looks to me as though he just ran a little too deep into the corner. Look, he takes a very tricky line through there, gets it crossed up, gets it wrong, hugs the curb, and that's enough for Marc Genet to boldly go where no Minardi has gone before, straight through past the Onyx. Jean-Eric Vergne into the final turn of the lap and into lap 14. 2 seconds clear of Jaime Alguersuari. Great performance so far from Vergne. Under pressure too. Brendon Hartley in 7th position, trying to make up progress in the closing part of the lap. And Sam Hall is talking about blue flags, but we're not at that stage of the race yet. Lucas Di Grassi running in a valiant 3rd position. Takuma Sato in 4th in the Onyx. It would be great if he could end his season on a high, and he's had some great races in the past at Laguna Seca, of course, in the world of Indy cars, but back in Grand Prix again for the first time since 2008, Takuma Sato. Brendon Hartley still pushing hard to close up on Stoffel Vandoorne. We're just pointing out that once this Grand Prix season is over, our attention will turn to British touring cars. You can either race in the beginning of the last decade, so 2008 to 2011. Any team from that era is accepted. And if you don't wish to do that, you can race in the Super Touring era. Any team from 92, 93 or 95 is accepted. For some reason, 94 is not available on the Grand Prix 2 modding site. It's not been created yet, but we are very indebted to Pixel Dreams himself, Dan Richards, who's created all the British Touring Car mods, and we'll be using his fantastic works in the Retro Racing Managers League when we go touring car racing at the end of this Grand Prix season. Group C Challenge, of course, still ongoing, as Marcus Ericsson gets it slightly wrong, and Davidson gets a little bit wide as well. Ericsson's going to lose ground to Glock if he's not careful. Glock up the inside, and he gets the place. So Timo Glock into 14th, past Marcus Ericsson. And the field is still battling for positions here. The top 10 cars home score points, and only the top 10 cars. So it's Vergne, Alguersuari, Di Grassi, Sato, Di Resta, and in 6th place is Stoffel Vandoorne. Then it is Hartley and Hulkenberg. The WEC to be the race director for next season. Well, I'm fairly sure the chap who's doing the job at the moment is doing a fairly decent job of it. He's not so bad. Can't remember what his name is. Henry Welmeadow McGurk, I think it is. So along they come once again. This is Rossi trying to make his bid to move back up through the field as Jean-Eric Vergne completes lap 16. Completes lap 15 even, sorry, and goes into the 16th lap of the race. There's Vandoorne still pushing to close up on Paul Di Resta in the Lola. But this is silly season, of course. The final race of the year. It's usually when the rumour mill is in overdrive. A rumour going around from Phil Kinch as well that I may get a James Hunt type co-commentator next season. As long as he keeps saying, "You're right there, Jake. We're in good territory for retro gaming." F1 97 fans will know exactly what I'm talking about. So Vergne, Alguersuari, Di Grassi, Sato and Di Resta in the top 5. Vandoorne, Hartley, Hulkenberg, Lotterer and Courtney finishing off the point scorers at the moment. So Stoffel Vandoorne. So I really should stop reading the comments while I'm in full flow. I'm not going to repeat what Dave Goddard has pointed out. It's a wonderful James Hunt quote. But I can't repeat that one on the feed. You can read into that one what you like. Sebastian Bourdais battling away onto the tail of Marc Genet in the Minardi. Kobayashi 11th place, 1 place out of the points. But still a long way to go here. You can see the differences in the camber here at Laguna Seca. A lot of bumps, a lot of tricky parts of the course where it's easy to get things wrong. That corkscrew circuit, that corkscrew corner, very, very tricky. So over the line comes Lucas Di Grassi in 3rd position in the manor. Ultimately, the team would rather Brendon Hartley were in that position compared to Di Grassi, but Lucas is doing the best job he can. And to be fair, Di Grassi could really do with a points haul here. He has not scored a point since the 10th race of the season at Chennai in India. And even before that, his previous points finish before that was Brno in the Czech Republic back at round 6. So Di Grassi has had a terrible end to the season. Oh, Alex Reyes has heard a rumour down in the paddock that Scott Dixon is going to jump ship to BAR with Jean-Eric Vergne. Now, that could be an interesting pairing up. Scott Dixon, of course, on his debut earlier in the season at Poe, ended up fighting for the victory with Brendon Hartley and ended up finishing second, less than half a second behind him. So through comes Rossi. And he's got a big challenge behind him in Gabriele Tarquini. Antonio Felix da Costa is just watching it happen in 19th place in the Lola. Lucas Di Grassi. Whoa! Tarquini getting it slightly wrong there as he challenges the AGS. But as they come through the corkscrew, he's just trying to keep it all together. It is not easy to get it wrong. It's not easy to get it right either. Rossi challenged by Tarquini. But Jean-Eric Vergne still leads on lap 18. As the field continues its way through. It can't be too long before, bless them. Oh dear, the retro managers are deliberately trying to make me corpse. Honestly. So ridiculous. I won't even share how they're doing it because you can see it for yourself if you've got the YouTube chat on. For some reason, they all know that that's the word that triggers me. I have no idea why. I can't tell you a decent answer. I have no understanding as to why. But it's just my weak word. We've all got that trigger word, like sausages or trousers or something. But that's mine. Alexander Rossi charging after Anthony Davidson in the Minardi. Lap 19 here at Laguna Seca as Jean-Eric Vergne has a 2.2 second advantage over Alguersuari. They've pulled out a dozen seconds over Lucas Di Grassi in the Manor. Sato is 4th, ahead of De Resta, Van Dorn, then Hartley, Hulkenberg and Lotterer. James Courtney is 10th. From Kobayashi and Gene, here's Stoffel the Waffle, trying to move up the inside line. But you need to get on the tail of Paul De Resta before you make that overtaking move, Stoffel. He hasn't quite been able to make that move stick. But De Grassi in 3rd position. On board with Sebastian Bourdais, looking for the rear view of the Onyx. And after the initial early retirements, we have definitely had several difficulties in the race. We've had 4 retirements for certain. That's Dixon, Wehrlein, Frimes, Della Rosa. And the rest of the field is still motoring on. But there's the race leader and potential World Grand Prix Series champion, Taki Inui. Underneath his teammate at the moment, Della Traz. They are dueling together. And Taki Inui is actually in front of his teammate at this... Oh, no, sorry, he's not. He's behind him. Della Traz has actually had a really impressive couple of races. So let's have a look through as we go to the first pit stop. It's Stoffel Van Dorn. Van Dorn becomes the first pit stop of the race. So Van Dorn brings the Simtek in and Brendon Hartley comes in as well from P7. So Van Dorn and Hartley come in pretty much together. And the battle is obviously going to be pretty quick when they get back onto the circuit again. So the stop completed at Simtek and they are on a 2-stop strategy by the look of it. Looks like Hartley is as well. So they're going to rejoin in the midfield. There's Di Grassi in 3rd position in front of Takuma Sato still. But Kobayashi now up to 9th place as a result of the pit stops for Van Dorn and Hartley. And Tarquini pits in as well in the BMS Italia. As does Antonio Felix da Costa in the Lola. And Alexander Rossi getting it slightly wrong there through the right-hander at the end of the first sector. A very short first sector, actually, this particular course. And that looks like a move from Hartley to get back on the inside of Marc Genet. Sorry, no, not Genet, it's Davidson. And Davidson spun it. Davidson spun the car. Now let's have a look again. Hartley up the inside line. Davidson trying to come around the outside and ended up running out of road. So Davidson spins the Minardi. So that is not good news from his point of view, but he gets it going again. Oh, that's not going to go well. Oh, Anthony. That's not the greatest comeback in history. Oh, he's looking like Pedro Lamia Adelaide, and he's broken the front wing. And now he's ended up on the other side of the circuit. Oh, Anthony. Not great news. As Andre Lotterer and James Courtney both make their pit stops, and Anthony Davidson finally gets going again, but... Oh, Taki Inui pulling off. Taki Inui with a gearbox failure at the top of corkscrew. So that is not good news. Now, the recovery job from the Marshals needs to be quite careful here. They've just about got that sorted on the inside line. But Anthony Davidson, well, not the most glorious drive from Anthony Davidson. So a very tricky situation there as the front wing is well and truly obliterated, essentially. Lucas Di Grassi running in third place, though, in the manner. There's his teammate, Brendon Hartley, going through the end of Sector 1, and has closed right up on Van Dorn, actually. Brendon Hartley still feels that the championship is on here, so he's going to make a bid to get past Stoffel Van Dorn. Let's see if he can go for the opportunity. He's going to need to make his move as well if he wants to make progress. Here he goes. Hartley going to make the move into the corkscrew. He's got to get this right. Nicely done from Brendon Hartley. The Kiwi has gone through into 12th position past Van Dorn. And that definitely sets him up for a good championship assault now. But here's the race leader, Jean-Eric Vergne, as Lucas Di Grassi pits from third. And Kobayashi comes into the pits as well. Whoops, Delatraz struggling as Kobayashi in the Arrows pits. So we've had Di Grassi in. We've had Kobayashi into the pits as well. And that means that we've got Vergne leading Alguersuari. Sato is now third in the Onyx as Di Grassi has come into the pits and rejoined in 6th position. Not a bad stop then from Mana. And Alguersuari runs in 2nd place. There's Kobayashi back out of the pits again, tucked up behind James Courtney in the BMS Italia. So this is going to be a really exciting run for the competitors who entered the second stint. Here's Takuma Sato running in 3rd position. It's so distracting, this chap. Bless them. They are really trying to get me to corpse. And into the pits comes the championship leader. Alguersuari comes in, and so too does Vergne. So Vergne is in. Alguersuari technically takes the lead due to the pit stop for Vergne. But Sato is in the pits as well. Oh, and that's fascinating. Alguersuari nearly jumped Vergne at the pit stop. And Vergne was having a slow pit stop. So that got very close indeed. But Hulkenberg goes through into 2nd place. Vergne nearly got jumped there by Alguersuari, but Alguersuari had to wait for Sato in the pits. So the Prost team very nearly jumped Vergne. And that would have been catastrophic for their race strategy. But there's the new race leader, Paul Di Resta, as Brendon Hartley back into 9th place now. Marc Genet has pitted in the Minardi. So they come through. Rapid Scorpion himself, Scott Woodward, is pointing out that the Ligier with the high airbox was indeed the teapot. I wonder why that word has ended up so much on the YouTube stream. Bless them. Well, here is Timo Glock. Actually, they should keep doing it because that word will eventually become unfunny to me and then my jinx will finally be broken. Glock on the back of Sebastian Bourdais as they duel for the top 10. Excellent. Fantastic stuff from Jean-Eric Vergne as he closes up on Nico Hulkenberg. He got a get out of jail free card there during that pit stop because they had got that pit stop slightly amiss at BAR as Paul Di Resta comes into the pits for Lola. So Di Resta into the pits. Let's have a look at that pit stop for Lola. So Di Resta is in. He's going to go quite long into the second stint. So through they come in... well, he came into the pits in 5th. In the lead of the race, sorry. But before that, he was in about 5th or 6th position. Oh, my goodness! And Bourdais has to spin to avoid Di Resta. And that is a big moment for Bourdais. Well, I want to see that one again because Bourdais, look, Di Resta came right out into the path of the Onyx and Bourdais was very lucky not to have a monumental accident. And I want to see that again because, wow, just look how close he came. Di Resta just pulled straight across on the Onyx and Di Resta just watches it all happen. Well, I'm afraid to say that that is a bit of poor driving there from Paul Di Resta. As poor Sebastian Bourdais was so lucky to avoid him. But I think Di Resta actually ends up with he's going to end up with a penalty. To come out of position again. So that is not even the first time this year that Paul Di Resta has ended up under investigation for an incident. And yet again, he's got another one there. So there you go. There's the officials pointing out that Di Resta is under investigation by the stewards. And that is more than understandable under the circumstances. As Phil Kinch rightfully points out, that was code brown for Bourdais in the Onyx. As Marcus Ericsson closes up on Stoffel Van Dorn. We've got a couple of very scary moments as Timo Glock comes into the pits in the Super Aguri from 8th position. And Jean-Eric Vergne is caught up to Nico Hulkenberg. And Hulkenberg is going to be the last driver to make a pit stop. I think it's because Hulkenberg's actually going for a one-stopper, would you believe? Hulkenberg deciding to go for a one-stopper by the look of it. So Hulkenberg did have a bit more fuel on board than some of the others out there. But Vergne gets the lead pretty easily. So Jean-Eric Vergne taking the lead away from Nico Hulkenberg in the arrows. And in second place is Jaime Alguersuari. Third place, I should say, is Alguersuari in the Prost. And I'm afraid Sebastien Bourdais in the Onyx ends up having to come into the pits to avoid a very big moment there from Paul di Resta, who came out of the pits and straight into the oncoming path of Sebastien Bourdais. And I want to have a look at the white line situation at the front of the field again, because di Resta definitely came across, well, no, he didn't come across the yellow line, but certainly came out into the path of Sebastien Bourdais. So that is going to be a very difficult situation for di Resta and the team. There's Bourdais, got back onto the circuit then in 20th position. But that is a very difficult situation for Paul di Resta. Well, I've been told that there is a penalty being handed out to di Resta for that one. And the confirmation comes through that Paul di Resta is going to receive a 30-second penalty at the end of the race. So whatever has happened to Paul di Resta in this race, he will have a 30-second pit stop added to his time. So that is not good news for di Resta, considering he's currently in 6th position, looking for a decent result for Lola, and they could certainly have done with one. But Paul di Resta has definitely got himself into hot water one too many times for comfort, as Antonio Felix da Costa runs in 17th position. There's all sorts of rumours around this team for next year. There's the possibility that it could even end up being under new management, as Nico Hulkenberg comes into the pits in P2. Now I want to see what happens there, because oh no, he is on a two-stop strategy, but he's just gone longer into the race than anybody else. So he is on a two-stop strategy. I thought it was a little bit strange that he's gone for a 1 second. I thought it was unusual that he'd gone a bit longer than everybody else, but his fuel levels weren't dramatically more. So that is a very strange situation. Here comes Jean-Eric Vergne to lap the Onyx of Sebastien Bourdais. Now that could have been a very nasty moment for Jean-Eric Vergne. Now if Vergne ends up retiring from this race, Hartley's got to finish in the top 3 to win the title. If Hartley doesn't finish, Vergne will win the title whatever happens. So some interesting scenarios there for the races to play out here at Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. Gabriele Tarquini hanging on to 15th position at the moment in front of the drivers behind him. That's Marcus Ericsson in the Midland and Antonio Felix da Costa in the Lola. Rossi, Delatraz and Davidson. And then Sebastien Bourdais is the last man in. Kamui Kobayashi making a mistake. Oh, well, he got airborne over the corkscrew. He was lucky to get away with that one. Goodness me. Kobayashi, that's about as close as you can come on the corkscrew circuit without making an absolute hash of it. So he just about gets away with that one. So Antonio Felix da Costa in the Lola, getting it slightly wrong, and now he's going to get a decent overtaking opportunity there as Jean-Eric Vergne gets it wrong. So Vergne makes the mistake there in the lead. Now, that could have been very costly indeed. So that is not good news at all. Well, Tom Butterworth has pointed out, BAR would like to personally thank Arrows for holding up Jaime for 1.7 seconds there, giving Jean-Eric Vergne a bit of breathing space. We'll reward them with some wine later. I wonder if there's a little bit of a family issue going on there, of course, because the Butterworths are 2 team managers in this category. Tom Butterworth, manager of BAR. Emma Butterworth, manager at Arrows. If she can't win the title, maybe she can help her husband's team out. Was that to do with that sort of conversation, I wonder, as Ericsson makes the move for 14th past Gabriele Tarquini. And of course, they can't really do anything about that in terms of holding up the car behind, because they weren't in a blue flag scenario. They were racing for position, so it's always going to be a tricky scenario. Now let's see how the battle goes. Topher Smith making a point that some say that my favourite film character is the teapot from Beauty and the Beast. How dare you suggest such a thing? It's clearly the teapot in Supernatural. So here they come once again. Rossi chasing after the Lola of Antonio Felix da Costa. Lucas Di Grassi, though, still in third position after all of the musical chairs. Takuma Sato is in fourth place in the Onyx. Desperately trying. Oh, Alguersuari making a similar mistake to that of his teammate De La Rosa, only his was nowhere near as bad. The Prost team would have told him how to avoid crashing out, and essentially he's obviously taken that on board, but he still made the mistake on the way up to the corkscrew. All it's going to take is one more driver, I think, to mess up on the top of the hill there, and we're going to see all sorts of flotsam and jetsam around the circuit. Sebastian Bourdais trying to get himself back into contention, but has obviously been lapped by Jean-Eric Vergne as a result of all the drama of earlier on, and he's rejoined at the back. So Jean-Eric Vergne now trying to lap Anthony Davidson in the Minardi, who's not exactly making it easy for him. But after Alguersuari's mistake, he's now 3.4 seconds back from the leader, so that's not going to help him out any, as Nico Hulkenberg takes on Stoffel van Dorn. And in sixth position now is Brendon Hartley. So Hartley has made up a position thanks to the spin from Sebastian Bourdais, and that's the Lola of Antonio Felix da Costa on fire. So an engine failure then for the Lola, and he pulls up at the edge of the circuit. Now that should be out of everybody's way, but obviously the edge of the circuit is right there, so Antonio Felix da Costa, the marshals clear and crane him away pretty quickly. That is good news. So slight difficulties there, but Jean-Eric Vergne goes through without losing too much ground. He's lapped the Minardi. So the BAR is looking good for win number 4 of the season. Phil Kinch pointing out that everyone is now scared of the corkscrew after the destruction of Pedro de la Rosa's Prost. Just got a little bit high up and mighty over the curbs. Got a tiny bit airborne, and that was all it needed for the car to disintegrate into several pieces. Biggest accident of the season, though, I think we'll all agree. And fortunately, we're told that Pedro de la Rosa is perfectly okay. He's just very disappointed and very embarrassed about making that mistake. As we watch Nico Hulkenberg in the Arrows. At this point in procedure, I think it might make a lot of sense to go down to our team managers and have a word with a few of them. So let's see who's doing what as the fun and games continue here at Laguna Seca. I want to have a quick word with Tom Cairns, actually. Team boss at Prost. Pedro de la Rosa making a massive mistake into the corkscrew. How are things at Prost now that Jaime Alguersuari's come dangerously close to doing the same thing?
Yeah, well, I think with Alguersuari at the moment, he's just maybe being a bit too content. He's thinking that he'll make up the gap just by sort of being too quick over in the corners, perhaps, and just try and carry too much speed into the corkscrew. Pedro's mistake was really, really costly to us, not just for him, but also to Alguersuari, because Vergne's got some breathing space over him now. And all we can hope for is maybe see how the second round of pit stops go, because at the moment, Vergne's got too much of a gap for us to even think that we're going to end up overtaking him on that second stint. So we just got to hope our third set of tyres will give Alguersuari the grip he needs to close that 3-second gap on Jevons then.
Fair enough, Tom. Well, we'll catch up with you a little bit later on in the race, I hope. Let's have a word with Sam Hall, team manager at Manor. Brendon Hartley's made good progress, to be fair. Starting from 12th, is now up to P6. He has not given up on this driver's title.
No, to be fair, he's put in a bit of a steaming performance. No, he's been doing well, just getting through the field. He's in 6th at the moment. We've got Di Grassi in 3rd. I think I said Di Grassi would retire on lap 36, so he's probably got about 5 more laps left of life in that teapot. But yeah, it's all going well.
And obviously there's going to be a tough fight as we continue on. Thanks, Sam. Let's see if we can have a word with one more of our team managers. Topher Smith, I think, from the Super Aguri team. Robin Frine's obviously dropping out of the race very early on. But Timo Glock is trying to come back into it. He's not done for the season yet either.
It's not been the race we were expecting, to be honest. We put a bit more of our development into power of the car, so we were hoping to run at the sharp end. Obviously, Fraines was up there from his performance in qualifying, but had the mechanical issue. And Glock's just had another race where he just hasn't really been on it. He's been very quick this season, but he's just not really been on his top form tonight. And part of me thinks that might be his motivation, because he is looking for a possible move away from the team next season. Nothing is confirmed yet. He is looking to potentially move away from the team. We're going to have a talk about it after the race. And yeah, if there is any news, we'll bring that to you at a later date.
Okay, well, thank you to our managers. We'll continue on with the second phase of the race. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Heard it here first. Timo Glock may be leaving the Super Aguri team at the end of the year. So that is a very interesting scenario. Jaime Alguersuari, 5.6 seconds back now from Jean-Eric Vergne. That is how big a difference his mistake at the corkscrew has made to his rhythm. And Jean-Eric Vergne running out in the lead. Oh, the AGS in trouble. That is Andre Lotterer. He's climbed to 9th position, but unfortunately the AGS is now in trouble as both Courtney and Kobayashi have gone through. That is such a shame for Andre Lotterer. He's going to pull his car off at pretty much exactly the same place as Antonio Felix da Costa. Now, I hope nobody was going to make a pit stop anytime soon, because obviously that is on the way into the pit lane, and they've just managed to get that sorted, so that is a very difficult situation. But that's another retirement for AGS this season, and they definitely didn't want that in this latter phase of the season, as Kamui Kobayashi is taking on the resurgent Australian James Courtney, doing a great job there in 9th position. He's really had a terrific end to the season, actually. And he and Gabriele Tarquini have been making the most out of this car, trying to get as high up the order as they can. Alguersuari really struggling now to keep up with Anthony Davidson even. Look how much time he's dropping. 6.9 seconds is now the gap between him and Vergne. Prost are losing this race quite dramatically, considering how well they were in qualifying. Whoops, from Jean-Eric Vergne. Now, I want to see that one again, because Vergne was obviously 6.9 seconds clear. What did he do? Messed up on the way through the hairpin. He was lucky. He'll only lose about half a second there in that, to be fair, so that's another get-out-of-jail-free card from BAR. But Vergne is doing everything he needs to do to win this championship. He's in the lead, and Brendon Hartley's in P6, so it's definitely looking good from their point of view. All they have to do is keep it together, essentially. Hartley needs to get into the top 3 to stand any chance of winning this title, but that could still happen. He's got to wonder how many cars in front of him will go the distance. It's been a tough season of attrition in these reject Grand Prix teams. They're not the most reliable cars in the world, of course. James Courtney there in 9th place, running in front of Kamui Kobayashi in the Arrows. So Vergne, Alguersuari, De Grassi is the top 3 at the moment. Takuma Sato in 4th place, from Paul Di Resta in 5th position in front of Brendon Hartley, Stoffel Van Dorn, Nico Hulkenberg, James Courtney and Kamui Kobayashi. Then it's Mark Genet in the Minardi, from Timo Glock in the Super Aguri. Marcus Ericsson in the Midland is next up. And then it is Gabriele Tarquini. And then we have Alexander Rossi in the AGS in 15th. Then it is Diniz and Delatraz in front of Davidson and Bourdais, who have had their races severely compromised by spins earlier on in the race. And nobody else is circulating. But Alguersuari, you have to say, the Prost team is having a major headache at the moment, because their man, Jaime Alguersuari, is, well, there's no other word for it. He's hemorrhaging time at the moment. And dropped back to 7.4 seconds back. He's trying to make it back again. And has got the gap back down to 7.2 as I say that. So he is now starting to get back on it. But we're approaching the halfway point in the race, as everybody is on a 2-stop strategy. Differing degrees of when the pit stops are going to come. But it obviously is still going to be a very tight race for everybody. As Vergne runs 7.3 seconds now in front of the Prost of Jaime Alguersuari, and he does not need to push it from here. Just needs to keep it circulating, essentially. So Sebastian Bourdais continues to run in there behind Jaime Alguersuari in the Prost, and he's still trying to get the fastest laps he can to bring himself back up the order, but there's not really a difference in pace between the Prost and the Onyx in their current positions. So Jean-Eric Vergne is 7.5 seconds in front of Jaime Alguersuari. Lucas Di Grassi, Takuma Sato and Paul Di Resta come next up. Brendon Hartley, Stoffel Van Dorn and Nico Hulkenberg. Then it's James Courtney and Kamui Kobayashi. They are the point scorers at this moment in time. Here's Alguersuari, 2nd place, as Hulkenberg continues to put pressure on Stoffel Van Dorn in the Simtech through the first hairpin, but he just can't get close enough yet. A fascinating race continuing on here, but I have to say, it's had its moments and it's had its drama, but it's looking quite humdrum at the moment here at Laguna Seca. I'm not sure how many people will be continuing with support of Laguna Seca, because obviously as a season finale, the Group C cars are obviously going to come here later in the year as well for their season finale. And we've just been told that the Group C Challenge will be heading to Monza, obviously, as we already knew, next time out on Tuesday afternoon. But they're going to be using Monza Grand Prix circuit plus the banking, or the oval, I should say. It's not actually the banking version. They've actually flattened the oval for us. So that's still going to be a crazy pair of races in Class B and Class A for the Group C's on Tuesday. Normally it would be Monday, and you're probably all there going, well, why is it not running on Monday as always for Group C? Well, the reason for that is because I'm turning 34 that day, and I fancy building a couple of Lego cars that day. It's a brilliant way to spend a birthday if you have to be on lockdown. I recommend it to anybody. So, Vergne leads the way by 9.3 seconds now to Jaime Alguersuari in the Prost. He's really been extending that gap big time. And it looks to me as though it's because Alguersuari's got a problem rather than because Vergne is just stretching away from the rest of the field, because he's not gaining that much on the likes of Di Grassi and Sato, but Alguersuari is definitely dropping back big time. Let's have a look and see how everybody's fuel loads are doing. So obviously we'll be able to scroll through and keep an eye on who's doing what in the field. Certainly in the midfield, it's interesting to see the different drivers who have got different fuel levels out there. And Pedro Diniz in the Midland, who got a brilliant 4th place finish, of course, at Buenos Aires in Argentina, mainly by just staying on the road. Jean-Eric Vergne is going to come into the pits very shortly. Now, that's interesting. He's only got about 5 laps worth of fuel in the car, and he is coming into the pits at the end of this lap. So maybe that's the reason why he's pulling away. Are they going to convert this to a 3-stop strategy? Is Vergne going on a 3-stopper? Now, that really would shake things up. But the race leader is coming in very early. So I think Jean-Eric Vergne may be going for a possible conversion to a 3-stop strategy. If that's the case, then this championship could be blown wide open. But it's a very early time in the race for a second pit stop for Jean-Eric Vergne. It's lap 39 of 77, but he's coming in. Now, are they going to fill all the way to the brim, or are they on a 3-stop strategy? This is going to be fascinating. It's a 3-stopper. I can't believe it. Vergne is going 3 stops. He is no longer the favourite to win this race. Now, the problem is, now that they're on this 3-stop strategy, they're committed to it, because essentially the car can't go the distance that they need on terms of fuel. This car is so thirsty in the current situation. Oh, Di Resta's gone off. Now, Di Resta, it looks as though... Oh, and a big shunt and into the wall and a loss of wheel. But I wonder, has Di Resta done the same thing? Because Vergne has come out of the pits straight into his path. Let's have a look. Well, no. Di Resta just lost concentration. Unbelievable. Di Resta spins the car and bang, into the wall, and the wheels come off. So Paul Di Resta is out of the race. I wondered for a moment if Vergne came out of the pits directly into the path of Di Resta, but he didn't. So Di Resta just lost concentration. I think he saw that Vergne was coming out of the pits, and he just made an error. He just made an error in judgment there, basically. So Paul Di Resta was going to be getting a 30-second penalty post-race, but it doesn't matter now because he's out of the race. And there go Lola's best chance of scoring points in the last race of the year. Now, Vergne is out again in 4th. Now, what is going to be the difference between him and Sato in terms of race time? We'll have a look at it, because the graphic's not really giving us a clear indication at the moment. Vergne is right behind Takuma Sato, so he's about 6-7 seconds off the race leader, Jaime Alguersuari. So that means that essentially Vergne's really got to go like a cat out of a bag, but the car behind him now is Brendon Hartley, championship contender. So this is going to be an interesting little scenario. So yeah, Vergne's only 7 seconds off the lead. So if he can go very fast indeed in this latter stint, in this 3rd stint, then there is still a chance for Vergne to win the race. But I guess their focus is the title, obviously. They've gone very aggressive on a 3-stop strategy. They're the only team doing it as well. I wonder if their line was going to do the same thing. Here comes Vergne, charging up the inside of Sato and into 3rd place. So Jean-Eric Vergne needs to do this to have any chance of winning this race. There's Brendon Hartley in P5. The Manners are 2nd and 5th, doing as much as they can to close the gap down to BAR in the team standings, as much as this is about the race for the driver's title. It's also, of course, the main focus is the team's title. So, a stunning race we are being treated to here at Laguna Seca. Jaime Alguersuari leads the race now with Vergne on a 3-stop strategy. But he's getting that gap down big time. 5.6 seconds is now the gap. So no wonder he was pulling away from Alguersuari at the rate he was. He's on a 3-stopper, not a 2-stopper. So that is absolutely astonishing. Now, the silly season has continued on its way. And I've been told by my good source Alex Reyes that there is a possibility that 40 may even be considering the services of Javier Raghunathan for their team next year. They'd certainly get a decent budget with that. So here is the run from Timo Glock. Just one place out of the points now, chasing down Marc Genet in the Minardi. So Jaime Alguersuari, 2.8 seconds in front of Lucas de Grassi. Jean-Eric Vergne is only 3.5 seconds back. Sato! Oh no, suspension failure for the Onyx. Well, that's a real shame. And you can see the car is well and truly battered and bruised on the right front of the car. So that is Takuma Sato's best chance of scoring points in a race this year. Well and truly done. So unfortunately, it's all game over. Well, that is a real shame from his point of view. And a big disaster. So, here is Gabriele Tarquini. Oh, sorry, no, that's James Courtney now in 7th position. So, Hartley is up to 4th now. Vergne is in 2nd. So, obviously, Sato's retirement means that Vergne is now P2. And de Grassi is 3rd because Vergne has overtaken him. So, Vergne has got past de Grassi and Hartley is in P4. So, the championship is definitely starting to become possible for Brendon Hartley, but only if Vergne drops out of the top 3. So Hartley is essentially, the manor is in the box seat. We're on lap 43, and contrary to Sam Hall's prediction, Lucas de Grassi is still going in 3rd position. So that is an absolutely fantastic battle. Apparently there is a rumour going around that the AGS manager Phil Kinch might be spearheading Season 2 with his own team. I'm interested to see how that's going to work out. There is a possibility for our team managers running their own teams, essentially, and going racing in their own unique championship. I have certainly been considering it. So we'll have to see how the managers within the league respond to that. But here is James Courtney running a great race in 7th place, in behind Nico Hulkenberg. And Kamui Kobayashi is actually quite close behind him as well. So, an interesting little gaggle of cars there. Now, Vergne, having got himself back into 2nd place, is making this 3-stop strategy come back to him, essentially, now. Because Vergne is now only 3 seconds behind Alguersuari. Alguersuari needs to make another pit stop, but then so does Vergne. But Vergne is going to be lighter on fuel. And Vergne has actually made up a 2nd on Alguersuari with a lighter car. And not only a lighter car, but also fresher tyres. So Jean-Eric Vergne is putting in the drive of the season here to try and get himself back into a race-winning position. And Vergne knits his way up the inside of Anthony Davidson and Minardi to lap him at the corkscrew. So an absolutely fantastic battle. Oh, apparently the AGS deputy manager has left to run a team in Season 2. I do apologise. So Andrew Sampson, that is likely to get his hands on a race team for Season 2. I do apologise. I misread that rumour mill. But Jean-Eric Vergne has got the gap down to 1.6 seconds. He is so hungry for this victory. And Brendon Hartley pits. So this is the championship protagonist into the pits. Tops up with fuel. So Hartley blinks first. He'll rejoin outside the top 5. But of course, he is the first one to pit of that group of cars. So the championship showdown continues with full gusto. Oh, and Vergne has been held up, I've been told. So Vergne is now 2.3 seconds back, but he's been held up in the traffic. So Davidson is going to have a big lunge on the inside of the 40 in front of Sebastian Bourdais. A nice little midfield battle going on here, but the 40 apparently held up Vergne to a certain extent, so he dropped a second or so back and has now had to push to try and find his way back into it. Davidson and Bourdais having a gaggle, a little bit of a tussle. Bourdais on the inside of Davidson. Bourdais trying to commit to the move on the 40, and Lucas de Grassi getting held up in all of it. Davidson loses ground, and so moves out of the way to let de Grassi go through. And now Degrassi is going to try and make his bid on Bourdais. That's going to leave the door open for Davidson to get back through, which he does. And Bourdais struggling. Has he got a problem? I think Bourdais got a gearbox failure. Indeed he does. So I'm afraid Ryan Ferris will not finish in glorious style this season. The Onyx is out. And that is disastrous from his point of view. As into the pits comes Nico Hulkenberg from P5. So the arrows comes in. We go on his helmet cam. So Hulkenberg is pushing to close up, as Remco van Engelen well points out on Stoffel van Dorn, but that's because he was on a light fuel load. He won't take on quite as much fuel as Brendon Hartley, but Hartley has already gone through into 6th position after his pit stop. Alguersuari has got about 5 laps left on this stint. Vergne has got about 10 to 11 laps left on his, and Vergne is doing everything he can to close up on Jaime Alguersuari. The battle for victory just got interesting, because Alguersuari can go short. He's not going to go as far into the race as Vergne, and Vergne has got fresher tyres on board. Sensational stuff so far. But Alguersuari is being caught by Jean-Eric Vergne, and the battle for the victory is going to be fought between these two cars. Degrassi in 3rd place in the manor. 4th is Van Dorn. 5th is Courtney. 6th is Hartley. But Van Dorn and Courtney both need to pit. Degrassi finds himself in 3rd place. Now, before the pit stops, we had Degrassi and Hartley in 3rd and 4th, as Davidson in the Minardi comes into the pits. Now, I'm trying to do the math here. If Degrassi and Hartley are 3rd and 4th, they will score 27 points in the team's championship. And if Vergne were to win, he would score 25. So even though Manor would outscore BAR, they would not overtake them in the team standings. They need something catastrophic to happen at BAR, essentially, for the tide to turn. As Glock and Courtney come into the pit lane together. So Courtney will drop to about 11th or 12th position, I think. And Glock should get out just behind him, as we're in the thick of the two-stop strategy now. And Remco van Engelen pointing out that Hulkenberg will go to the end. Indeed, he will. So Lucas Degrassi in 3rd position in the manor. Still hanging on to this position. But Vergne is giving Alguersuari a hard time of it for the lead of the race. And that's where the real battle is out on circuit at the moment. Kamui Kobayashi now in P10. Right in behind James Courtney. And Alguersuari from the lead comes into the pits. So Vergne goes through to take the lead of the race. And Alguersuari pits in. Now he's going to go to the end of the race, as we know. But Alguersuari under massive pressure now to get this right. Fortunately, they're the only team in pit road. So Alguersuari will come out onto the circuit as Van Dorn goes through. Hartley's not going to go through. They're going to get out in plenty of time to counteract the manor. But Alguersuari rejoins in 4th place. They need a perfect run here. With Degrassi now 2nd, Van Dorn now 3rd. Alguersuari is 4th and Hartley is 5th, but Degrassi and Van Dorn are coming back into the pits in a matter of laps. This is up to Vergne now. He's got to get some qualifying laps in there. And Alex Reyes is pointing out that he's considering entering Season 2 of the Championship. That would be great news. We are going to allow 2 grids for a Class A race and a Class B race. The teams from Class A will obviously get first priority in Class A, but the Class B grid will certainly have some good competitors amongst it. So Alex Reyes potentially wanting to come on board. All you have to do is email downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. Signal your intent. We'll add you to the Facebook group. We'll add you as well to the Discord chat. And then anytime there's a new championship taking place, anytime there's a new grid being formed, you can find out how to get involved. It's nice and easy. So Vergne is now 9.4 seconds ahead of Lucas Degrassi. He's just dropped him. The BAR absolutely on it round here. They had the advantage coming into the weekend, of course, with their line binning it. They've obviously been dropped down to just 1 car as Marc Genet in the Minardi comes in from P6. And with 9.4 seconds gap already over Lucas Degrassi, make that 9.8. Vergne is just flying around this circuit. And Jean-Eric Vergne wants to become champion. So that is a very tricky scenario. But Vergne leads, Degrassi 2nd, Van Dorn, Alguersuari, Hartley, Hulkenberg, then Ericsson, Kobayashi, Courtney and Marc Genet. Although it's now not Genet because Tarquini and Glock have both got past him. On the way out of the pits, Glock is having a go at Gabriele Tarquini through the first hairpin. They're side by side. Timo Glock trying to come around the outside. Still holding it there from Tarquini. I'm not sure if he got the move finished or not. I don't think he did. No, so he's had to hold off Marc Genet on the way through that corner. But Vergne has now opened up the gap to Degrassi to 10.2 seconds. But that's not who he's racing. He's racing Jaime Alguersuari. He's trying to pull out a gap big enough that he can get far enough ahead of Alguersuari before his third pit stop, as Van Dorn pits from P3. So Van Dorn will rejoin probably in about 6th position behind Hulkenberg, I would have thought. But there is Jean-Eric Vergne. And he is trying to build the gap between himself and Alguersuari before their next pit stop. Before Vergne's next pit stop. To see if he can increase the gap enough to have a pit stop in hand before Alguersuari gets moving. But Alguersuari is still pushing in the Prost. He's giving the car everything he's got. He wants to get out in front of Vergne to deny them the victory if they possibly can. So Vergne leads Degrassi, Alguersuari and Hartley. Still one more pit stop to come in this race. And that's the big one from Jean-Eric Vergne. Degrassi needs to pit as well. But Alguersuari is trying to match Vergne for lap times at the moment. Because if he can match him rather than lose ground to him, then Vergne is going to have to catch and pass Alguersuari on the track. Of course, he'll have a better chance of doing that as Degrassi pits from second. I was going to say Vergne will have a better chance of doing that because he'll have a light fuel load and fresh tyres on board, while Alguersuari will have about the same amount of fuel, but the tyres will have been stretched longer. So it'll come down to how Vergne has managed tyre life, and he has done very well of it at Laguna Seca so far this weekend. Third in qualifying, and certainly battling for victory here today. Tom Butterworth has come very close to winning the title for quite a few races. They had a double DNF issue earlier in the year, but fortunately they are going to get a decent result out of this one if Vergne could just keep it going. Marcus Ericsson pits from 7th, drops down the order behind Kobayashi and Courtney. Glock will go through, as well Jenny Tarquini and Alex Rossi. So Ericsson will rejoin in about 13th place, I think. Possibly even 14th by the time Diniz comes around. Despite that change of rear wing, Diniz is in 14th place in front of Davidson and Delatraz. The team were lightning quick at Midland to get that rear wing change. They knew they needed to, obviously, so they obviously took the old bolt off, put the rear wing back on. They can do it in about a dozen seconds now, so Diniz has managed to get himself back into the race without losing a massive amount of time. But there is Brendon Hartley, still giving it everything he's got. Brendon Hartley running in 3rd place now, in front of Degrassi after the pit stops. So the Manor team obviously tried to jump Hartley past Degrassi, and that's what Hartley's been working on. So Hartley rejoins in 3rd after all of that. And Degrassi got out of the pit lane in 4th place. So critical now for Hartley. He's in 3rd position, which is the minimum he can be to win the championship. But he needs Vergne to have a problem. So Brendon Hartley has been working his magic in this race. He's from 12th up to 3rd now, as there goes Van Dorn lapping the 40. Van Dorn is in P6, just 3 seconds back from Nico Hulkenberg, as Tarquini comes into the pits from in the top 10, and Alex Rossi in the AGS pits as well. But of the main contenders, there's just one more pit stop to go, and that is Jean-Eric Vergne, who is on a 3-stop strategy, and he'll be coming in the next 5 laps or so. But he's trying to build the gap to Alguersuari. In fact, Alguersuari is pulling the gap in. The gap's down to 19.2. But crucially for Brendon Hartley, he's been able to leapfrog his teammate at the pit stops to get into 3rd position and into championship winning contention if something happens to Vergne. It's not enough at the moment because Vergne is ahead of him. But if Vergne doesn't beat Hartley and Hartley stays in the top 3, Brendon Hartley snatches the championship away from Jean-Eric Vergne. That's what's at stake here at Laguna Seca. Up to the braking zone. Here is the race leader, Jean-Eric Vergne. He's still got 1 pit stop to go. So it's not done yet for BAR. And he's only got about 3 or 4 laps left in the car before he makes the pit stop. But he's working his way nicely through this circuit. But he's not pulling away from Alguersuari. He needed to get in and out before Alguersuari came through at the end of the pit stops, and he's not going to be able to do that the way things currently stand. Alguersuari will be able to overtake him if it stays like this. And Alguersuari in the Prost will take back the lead if it's all fine and dandy from here. And of course we've got various different situations from our drivers being updated. 16 cars of the 26 that started remain. Both Onyxes of Bourdais and Sato are out. DeResta's Lola crashed out after a distraction and a lapse in concentration from him. Andre Lotterer in the AGS had a problem. DaCosta in the Lola out as well, so both Lolas are now out of it. Taki Inui out of the race as well in the 40. De La Rosa crashed out while leading by missing his braking point and hopping over the curbs at the corkscrew. So De La Rosa out. Freins in 24th out of the race as well with mechanical failure. Pascal Wehrlein spun into the barriers, and Scott Dixon obviously succumbing to damage to the car. Suspension failure, we think, due to some contact on the first lap. And I certainly don't think it was a driving error from Scott Dixon, but suspension failure caused, we think, by some of the melee that was happening at turn 1. Diniz did have a missing rear wing at the initial start of the race. Here are the two Manners. De Grassi's pushing Hartley now, but the gap between Alguersuari and Vergne is still only 19.2. That's not enough for Vergne to come into the pits and go out again with the lead intact. So he's going to have to come out onto the circuit again with fresher tyres than Alguersuari and push like stick to close up on him and see if he can make an overtaking move for victory. Now, the big question is going to be, if anything happens to Vergne, Hartley is there in position in third place to wrap up the title if Vergne were to have a problem. So it's going to be a very tight end to this race, whatever happens. Alguersuari is 19.3 seconds back to Vergne. And thank goodness the title showdown is being played out on the racetrack where it counts, as De Grassi still runs with his teammate Hartley. Looks as though the Manor team are set to outscore the BAR team, but not by enough to take the team's title away. So as it stands, Vergne and BAR are going to win both titles if Vergne can take his 4th victory of the season. And Alguersuari is slowing! Alguersuari is slowing! Suspension failure in the Prost! I don't believe it! Oh no! Alguersuari is out, and that pretty much guarantees Vergne victory! Oh my goodness, the Prost team season ends in bitter disappointment, front row of the grid, but they are not going to finish. But at BAR, they have already started punching the air with joy, because now they know that even on a 3-stop strategy, even with 1 pit stop to go, Jean-Eric Vergne is looking good for the title. Hartley is still second, with De Grassi in third. So the Manor team are really going to outscore BAR now. They'll score 33 points compared to BAR on 25. But by my mathematics, that's still not going to be enough to overhaul BAR in the constructors' standings. I'll have to double check. We've obviously certainly had some dramatic races over the course of the year. BAR's championship advantage is 26 points. So no, it's not going to be enough. Oh, sorry, 16. No, it's not 16 points, is it? My apologies. 24 points is the actual advantage that BAR has over Manor. So a 24-point advantage. And they're going to score a bit less than them this time as well. Here's Vergne. Vergne in the pits. The last pit stop of the season. And the most important. So, BAR have got to get this right. Perfect stop. 8.7 seconds. That will see him through to the end. And Jean-Eric Vergne is on the road to victory now. 21 laps to go. And all going fine and dandy as the BAR gets back out on circuit in the lead in front of Hartley and De Grassi. Now it's just a case of hanging on in there. There are the Manners, second and third. So it's all done and dusted as far as BAR are concerned now. They've just got to keep it going to the end of the race. 16 seconds in front of Brendon Hartley after the pit stop. They lost a lot of time. They knew they would. But it looks to me as though Jean-Eric Vergne is going for it. Now, Dave Goddard has got on the rumour mill bandwagon. 40 may have thought of a completely left field choice for next season. That's interesting. I wonder what they're going to do. Well, Remco van Engelen points out that Prost have had a miserable day. And Emma Butterworth says that's what happens when you spend all your money on power. Well, they've got to do a little bit of both, obviously, over the course of the season. They've got to focus on reliability and engine power. Some have just over the course of the season put their money into power and hoped that the luck is on their side. Because some of these fast cars do get some decent results out of them, but Prost have only won twice over the course of the year. And sadly now their dream of moving into third place in the Constructors' Championship is over. Interestingly, Brendon Hartley is actually catching Jean-Eric Vergne. So Hartley's not given up on this at all. So Hartley feels like there's still a championship to win here. Is Davidson in trouble in the Minardi? They're just picking him up in front of the arrows of Kamui Kobayashi, who's lapping him. Sorry, no, it's Hulkenberg's arrows that's lapping him. And to be fair to the Arrows team, they are looking good for a decent result. 4th and 6th would be a great way to end their year after some difficult race performances. So Lucas Di Grassi is pushing his teammate Brendon Hartley here, and that's forcing Hartley to close up on Vergne. Vergne is just trying to get the car to the finish without breaking a sweat. He doesn't really need to push here. He's got 15 seconds on Brendon Hartley. But Lucas Di Grassi is pushing Hartley, his teammate. So that would be a very dramatic end to the race if Lucas Di Grassi decided he wanted to take on his teammate, especially knowing that even if he beats his teammate, it wouldn't matter so much because Hartley will only win the championship now if Vergne doesn't finish, or certainly doesn't finish in the top few places if Hartley were to be in the top 3. So Di Grassi clearly feels, well, if Vergne's ahead of Hartley anyway, I can go and pass him and grab a second place finish. So it doesn't really make a difference. But Hartley's not going to take too kindly to that. The gap has opened up to 15.4 seconds again, so Vergne is back on the power as he laps Pedro Diniz in the Midland. Just 15 cars remain now, and they are all on your screen on the left-hand side graphic. So Vergne, Hartley, Di Grassi, Hulkenberg, Van Dorn, Kobayashi, Courtney, Glock, Jene and Ericsson in the top 10, with Gabriele Tarquini in 11th place, and Alex Rossi is 12th in front of Pedro Diniz and Anthony Davidson, with Jean-Denis Delatraz in the 40 running in 15th position. And that is all she wrote. The other 11 cars are on the sidelines. Their seasons are at an end. But Jean-Eric Vergne leads the way, 16.2 seconds clear of his main championship rival, Brendon Hartley. So that is an absolutely sensational run. And Phil Kinch has just told us that AGS have told Alex Rossi not to hold up the leaders, to get out of the way if he's going to get lapped, unless he retires again, of course. That was only slightly ironic comment there from Phil Kinch. He's desperate to get both these cars in the finish if he can. But unfortunately, only one of them is going to make it at all, and that is Rossi. Lotterer already out of the race. But he's been one of the star drivers of the field, Andre Lotterer. Only one Grand Prix prior to this season, of course, when he filled in at Caterham in 2014 at the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. Got his one and only Grand Prix experience out of the way. Kamui Kobayashi making a mistake there at turn 2. Keeps it going. Doesn't want to run off circuit now. And this man's had a pretty epic season as well. 2 victories, a lot of bad luck. A lot of points were wasted mid-season when he had a good chance to make it turn into something. But he's been there and thereabouts, and he's been a formidable force through the year, Kamui Kobayashi, as Lucas Di Grassi overshoots a little bit there. 2 seconds back from his teammate. Well, a second and a half, I should say, back from his teammate. And trying to keep it with it. As Nico Hulkenberg runs in 4th place in front of Stoffel Van Dorn. But Van Dorn is catching Hulkenberg pretty quickly now. So Van Dorn may still get a chance of a 4th place finish here to beat the Arrows. But only if Van Dorn can catch and then pass. The gap is down to 0.8 of a second though. So Van Dorn definitely starting to step up the attack. And Hulkenberg makes the mistake. That's how much pressure he's under. Van Dorn gets very close to him indeed in the first corner. So I think it's a matter of when Van Dorn makes the move, rather than if Van Dorn makes the move now. So we're going to watch this battle for a short while. Hulkenberg trying to stay in front of Stoffel Van Dorn. But Van Dorn is definitely going to have a look on the inside line. He's too far away to make that work, but he's trying to get under Nico Hulkenberg's skin. And obviously they've got Anthony Davidson in the Minardi up the road, who could cause a bit of an issue there. Could certainly make a bit of a headache for them. Up and over the top of the crest and down the corkscrew. Hulkenberg being pursued by Stoffel Van Dorn. So Nico Hulkenberg is still being stretched here by Van Dorn. Whoops, Van Dorn making a mistake under braking there. So that's cost him a little bit of time, but certainly the battle is still going to be very intense as Brendon Hartley crosses the line. Now 19.8 seconds back from Jean-Eric Vergne. So Vergne is just, well, the BAR is absolutely planted around this Laguna Seca circuit. They've got it right in terms of strategy. They've got it right in terms of development and pace. And the car is just ticking over nicely. Lap 62 of 77. 16 laps remain in this season. The first year of the Downforce Grand Prix World Series of the Retro Racing Managers League, and Vergne is stretching out the lead to Brendon Hartley en route to win number 4 if he can hang on to it. And what a season he has had. He's been one of the star drivers of the year, and clearly by virtue of his performances and his points, the number 1. He took the victory at Bathurst in Australia, he won at Brno, he won at Chennai, and now he's not far from home. 15 laps to go before he can be crowned winner at Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. Hartley still second, 20.7 seconds back now. There's his teammate Lucas Di Grassi within a second and a half or so back. Di Grassi is pushing his teammate, but they just can't keep up with the BAR. Whoa, big moment there for Kobayashi as he had a bit of a lock-up. And he's under pressure as well because James Courtney and Timo Glock are catching him in the BMS Italia and the Super Aguri. Here is Jean-Eric Vergne closing in on Alexander Rossi in the AGS to lap him, and Rossi has been told by Phil Kinch to move out of the way and not cause an issue as Vergne comes through. I'm sure he will do so when Vergne gets close enough, obviously, to make the move. He can't just duck out of the way regardless because he's in a battle with Gabriele Tarquini. He won't make the overtaking move on Rossi. He won't make the overtaking move for Vergne very easy until he absolutely has to, because he's obviously racing Gabriele Tarquini in the BMS Italia for 11th place, and he won't want to lose too much time to him. And Rossi has not allowed Vergne to get by just yet, but the Manners are second and third, and they are losing about a second a lap to the BAR, so it's not a big concern at this point for Jean-Eric Vergne. With 14 to go, he just needs to bring it home. Here is Vergne. And the AGS, well, Rossi isn't letting him through. He's ignoring team orders. Well, that's not good news from the AGS team's point of view, and Phil Kinch will be quite irate at Alex Rossi. Let him through, because that's the race leader, that's the championship leader. We're not going to get into trouble here. So Phil Kinch will be very frustrated by his driver, Alexander Rossi, holding up Jean-Eric Vergne. Maybe Rossi and Hartley did a deal before the race, I don't know, but certainly Brendon Hartley running in second place. This is a brilliant drive from Brendon Hartley, though. Starting 12th, he has fought his way up to second place. He's done everything he possibly can to fight for the championship. And both drivers this season, Vergne and Hartley, have been absolutely brilliant and on their A-game every opportunity they've got. Hartley's comeback in the last 2 races of the year to have a go for the title at Buenos Aires and Vancouver have been nothing short of exceptional. And here at Laguna Seca, I would say he's actually done a better job here than Vergne has. Vergne has been on a 3-stop strategy with a light car with fresh tyres each time, and has therefore been the class of the field. But to come from 12th on the grid to second when overtaking is not easy here at Laguna Seca. Yes, a few cars in front of him have pulled off, but even so, you've still got to be in the fight. And he has pulled off some great overtaking moves as Brendon Hartley. So from 12th to second, not bad at all. But obviously there is still a fight to come. Brendon Hartley is trying to keep in front of his teammate, Lucas Di Grassi, who is there or thereabouts, about 1.5 seconds adrift. You can see him there in the braking zone. As Jean-Eric Vergne is still being held up by Rossi. This is not good news. So Alex Rossi needing to get out of the way here. And the AGS team boss Phil Kinch is not going to be happy about this, because he's made it quite clear that the team has ordered Alex Rossi to get out of the way. He's too busy focusing on Gabriele Tarquini 3 seconds up the road. There's no reason for Rossi to be holding up Jean-Eric Vergne here. No reason at all. But clearly, he does not want to get out of the way. Here is Lucas Di Grassi, the Brazilian. 3rd position, chasing down his teammate, Brendon Hartley, the New Zealander. 33 points set to be scored by the Manor team. 25 by BAR. So there's going to be an 8-point swing towards Manor, but it's not going to be enough to overhaul. And that was nearly Marc Genet's opportunity to get past Timo Glock. It's also very nearly Marcus Ericsson's chance to get past Marc Genet at the corkscrew, as Timo Glock made a big mistake. So there is an interesting one. Now, Remco van Engelen makes a very good point. Does Jean-Eric Vergne have a problem? Because he doesn't seem to have the pace to get past Rossi. In fact, look, he's dropped back a long way. Now, what's happened there? Vergne, I think Vergne's got an issue developing. Oh, he's made a big error at the corkscrew. Has Jean-Eric Vergne got a problem developing? This would be absolutely heart-wrenching for BAR when they've done all the hard work. For the moment, Vergne stays in front, but as Remco van Engelen points out, he can't get close enough to Rossi to lap him. Hartley and de Grassi are not really losing any time to him. But Alex Rossi, interestingly, is not having... Well, he's not moved aside for Jean-Eric Vergne. Vergne is actually struggling. Is he sweating now? Knowing that with only 11 laps to go, he could still lose the title. Hartley is right there in second place. If anything happens to Jean-Eric Vergne, Hartley is right behind him to clinch the title. It's going to be such a great race to the end here. You couldn't have orchestrated this better. The person who runs a league like this is basically the ringmaster of a circuit. He can book the acrobats, but he can't tell them which way to jump. But what an absolutely incredible race strategy this has been. Through the course of 15 races, it comes down to the final 11 laps of the season, with the two leading protagonists in the championship, first and second, on track, battling each other for the victory. And Vergne has lost another second to Hartley. Well, he locked up at the corkscrew. Has he damaged his tyres? Going to go on board with Vergne. Looks okay to me as he completes lap 67. Thing is, he's got a 19-second advantage, so he certainly doesn't want to jinx that with 10 laps to go. A 1:17.0 compared to his best of a 1:16.2, so he's not exactly slow. He's definitely not off the pace. How is Brendon Hartley doing for lap times? We'll find out as he comes across the line. A 1:17.0 is where Vergne is at. Hartley is probably about the same sort of pace. Well, he's on a 1:18.0, so he's lost another second. So it looks as though the balance of power is restored again in the favour of BAR. So a nasty scare for Jean-Eric Vergne, but that could have been so much more than that. Certainly it's going to end up being a fairy tale victory for Jean-Eric Vergne if it stays as it is. But Brendon Hartley has got himself exactly where he needs to be, in second position, to pick up the pieces if there is a problem for the race leader. So Brendon Hartley, second place. 20.2 seconds back from Jean-Eric Vergne. And I was watching some of the chatter between team managers Sam Hall and Tom Butterworth, and they were saying pre-race, they were wishing each other good luck, and they say, I hope this race gets settled on the racetrack. I don't want it to come down to attrition. I don't want it to come down to problems for other people. I would love it for this race to be fought on the track. And that is exactly what's been happening for the last 68 laps. 9 to go. And Jean-Eric Vergne just needs to bring it home. A fabulous opening season for the Retro Racing Managers League. It's had drama, it's had pathos, it's had great action, and incredible drama throughout. Oh, and there's more! Tarquini! Tarquini loses the car as he's lost that 11th place position as well then. Rossi goes through. Now Tarquini in the BMS Italia trying to get the car back again. As Diniz goes through in 12th, Tarquini rejoins. And incredibly, no damage to the BMS Italia, despite that spin. So, fair play from Tarquini. BMS Italia obviously wanting to spice the race up a little bit there. Gabriele Tarquini falls to 13th. And it looks as though we're going to have 15 cars finish the season here at Laguna Seca. A brilliant opening year. Great performances from the team managers. The drivers they've picked have all been very even. Many races through the year. The gap between the teams in qualifying has only been about a second or so. So the racing has been truly spectacular. There is Jean-Eric Vergne. He's closed right back up to Alex Rossi. So there is the proof that the BAR looks to be okay again. And Rossi is finally starting to respond to get out of the way. The thing is, he's not really in the race to overtake Marcus Ericsson, who is 16 seconds up the road. And Diniz is a fair way back now, so Rossi really doesn't have to put any more pressure under Gabriele Tarquini because Tarquini's already made the mistake. Is there a problem developing for Vergne? He's still struggling to keep up with Rossi, or maybe he's just following him. He doesn't need to overtake him, does he? He doesn't need to lap him. So Vergne is just keeping it nice and tidy as Brendon Hartley is 21 seconds ahead of Jean-Eric Vergne. With his teammate behind him, Manor really are a so-solid crew. 21 seconds back from Vergne. Yes, there's the pop culture reference from Jake Sanson, the only one he knows. Lap 70 of 77. 8 remaining. And still, Alex Rossi is not quite prepared to be lapped. And Sam Hall points out, at this point, we take a bit of attrition for that pesky BAR. They have been the class of the field today for Jean-Eric Vergne. But the Manners are second and third. It's the first time, or it looks like it's going to be the first time, in the Retro Racing Managers the Grand Prix World Series that a team is going to get 2 cars onto the podium. It's happened in Group C, but it certainly hasn't happened in the Grand Prix World Series yet. But I think Manor are about to do it and score as many points as they physically can in the process. 33 points coming to Manor if it stays like this. 25 for the BAR team if Vergne wins. But despite the fact that the Manor team would gain 8 points on the BAR team, the gap at the moment is 24. So it would not be enough for Manor to take the Constructors' title. The only way any of that is going to happen, either drivers or team's title going to Manor, is if something happens to Vergne in the last 7 laps. And so far, the BAR has been pretty bulletproof today. So Hartley in second, Degrassi in third. 20 seconds back from the race leader, Jean-Eric Vergne. Nico Hulkenberg in 4th place. Van Dorn is 5th from Kobayashi and Courtney. Glock, Jene and Ericsson. That's your point scorers here at Laguna Seca as it stands with 6 laps remaining. And Jean-Eric Vergne is on the run to the title. Brendon Hartley and Lucas Degrassi in 2nd and 3rd for Manor. Hulkenberg is 4th in the Arrows. Still about a second clear of Van Dorn. Van Dorn just doesn't seem to quite have the grunt to get on terms with the Arrows. And Kobayashi is in 6th position in his Arrows. Looks like a double points finish for them for the first time in a while, so they can be quite happy with that. Just going to try and figure out when the last time was that the Arrows team got a double points finish. I'm starting to wonder if it's actually happened before. In fact, it has not. No, sorry, it has once. My apologies. There was a double points finish for them at Bathurst in Australia, back at round 3. So the Arrows team looking good for a double points finish the way things are. Courtney is 7th for BMS Italia, 8th is Super Aguri with Timo Glock, 9th is Mark Genet in his Minardi, and 10th Marcus Ericsson in the Midland. Looks like it's going to be a truly spectacular... Oh, Davidson pulling off. Engine failure. Davidson pulls off at the corkscrew. So that's the Minardi out of the race, but because there's only 5 laps to go, I think they will still be classified as a finisher. But it's game over for Davidson. He was out of the points anyway. He was in 14th place after his spin earlier on. So it just prolongs the inevitable for Anthony Davidson, essentially. And now Jean-Eric Vergne gets the lap on Alex Rossi. He finally does get through past the AGS. And, well, interesting me that Alexander Rossi ended up holding up. Bless him, Tom Butterworth pointing out, if I jinx the BAR team, we're going to fall out. I certainly hope I'm not going to, because the way Vergne is driving now, he utterly deserves the title. As does Brendon Hartley, of course. Both of them have been the 2 class drivers within the field. But Vergne is on his way, about to complete lap 73, 4 to go, 20 seconds clear of Manor. Who would have thought a 3-stop strategy would be the winning strategy today? Even without the retirement of Alguersuari, I think the car certainly had enough pace to take the fight to Alguersuari in the Prost. So it looks as though it is going to be fine and dandy, but it's great to see that the title fight is coming down to a race on track. Hartley just doesn't have the grunt in the Manor to close up on the BAR, though. He's done everything he can. He gave it his best shot. He undercut Lucas Degrassi, his teammate. Degrassi didn't seem too happy about it. He tried to get back on terms with his teammate, but Degrassi well and truly caught napping by his teammate Brendon Hartley today. And it's going to be a very strong finish to this podium. It will be one of the best podiums of the year, not just because Manor will finally get 2 cars onto the Grand Prix podium, and they'll be the first team ever to do that this season, to get 2 cars on the podium, but it will be the right result after a stunning season. Here is Vergne completing the lap. He doesn't have to push, just needs to bring it home now. 3 laps to go, 21 seconds advantage on Brendon Hartley as he crosses the line and into lap 75. No problems at all for Jean-Eric Vergne. Just keep it that way, Jean. Just get it home. Get it home and dry, mate. He's had his moments over the course of the season, but all the way through the year, the car has looked pretty strong. Brendon Hartley, second place. Third place, Lucas di Grassi. Hulkenberg and Kobayashi in the Arrows cars are split by Stoffel Van Dorn in fifth. Then Courtney, Glock, Jenny and Ericsson to complete the points runners. It's had its moments this season. We've had some drama, we've had some pathos, we've had some very dramatic ends to the season. Potentially from Marcus Ericsson there, but he manages to save it. And that could have been interesting because Rossi is behind him and could have taken the final point away for AGS. It's had its moments, and there's been definite controversy, there's been some drama, but on the whole, there's been some great races and a fantastic battle here at Laguna Seca. It's right that it's ended this way. 14 cars remain. Most of the teams will get at least one car home. Some of them won't. Obviously, 40 have still got one car in. So have Minardi. So have BAR. Mana and Arrows have got two cars in. Simtek, Super Aguri, and Midland. And AGS have got one left in. So have BMS Italia. Midland have got two in. Sadly, it's already game over for the Lolas and for the Onyx squad. Everybody else has got... Oh, and also for the Prost team, of course, as well, for De La Rosa and Alguersuari. The big question is going to be, where would De La Rosa have ended up had he not crashed out? Because he was leading at the time. But BAR have been very good at this. They've been able to assess the situation. They've been able to pick up the pieces where needed and run their race comfortably. There's Brendon Hartley. Now, he's still got quite a lot of fuel on board with 2 laps to go. Another question that's going to be asked is if he'd had a slightly lighter car, would he been able to get any closer to the leading BAR? But there they come. Into the final corner comes Jean-Eric Vergne, and he will start the final lap here at Laguna Seca. Brendon Hartley at the corkscrew, 22.8 seconds back, still keeping that 2-second advantage to his teammate Lucas di Grassi. But this is the race we wanted to see. We wanted to have an exciting title fight. We wanted the two protagonists to come to the front. They have done. Vergne started 3rd, Hartley started 12th, but they have fought their way through to the front end of the field, and they are going to see this final lap out in fine style. Full credit to Lucas di Grassi as well. They predicted he would be out by the half-distance mark, and he's not. He's going to get it to 3rd position. A great performance from the team. Here's Jean-Eric Vergne, and his last act of the season is going to be to lap Jean-Denis Delatraz in the 40 for the 2nd time. As he comes up to the corkscrew, I'd wait if I were you, Jean. The last thing you want is to make a mistake in the final lap. He gets through the corkscrew, no problem at all, and now he's just got 3 corners to negotiate before he can become the first ever Retro Racing Managers League Drivers' Champion. He decides against lapping the 40 in the end. He bails out of it. An absolutely fantastic performance through the season as Jean-Eric Vergne comes out of the final turn for the last time this season. BAR have done it. British American Racing are champions. Jean-Eric Vergne is the race winner and the champion. Absolutely magnificent season for Jean-Eric Vergne and the British American Racing team. They have done it. 2nd place comes Brendon Hartley. What a fight back this season. 3 wins and several podiums for Hartley. Hartley is valiant in defeat. 2nd place for Hartley. 3rd place for di Grassi. Mana gave it everything to beat BAR today, but they just couldn't eclipse them. Great performance. Here comes Nico Hulkenberg for the Arrows team. We'll hear from Tom and from Emma post-race this time. Nico Hulkenberg victorious in their battle. 4th position in front of Stoffel Van Dorn. Stoffel the Waffle brings it home in the top 5, and Kamui Kobayashi brings it home for the first double points finish for Arrows since Bathurst. 7th place for James Courtney. Great race from him today. Another 7th place for BMS Italia. They can be proud of that. Glock is 8th for Super Aguri. Jenny is 9th for Minardi. The final point goes to Midland and Marcus Ericsson. But the victory goes to Jean-Eric Vergne and British American Racing. Team manager Tom Butterworth is the first ever Retro Racing Managers League champion. Brilliant season. What a year it's been, and what a campaign as Jean-Eric Vergne lifts the title with a victory. His 4th win of the season. Brendon Hartley and Lucas di Grassi join him on the podium. The first ever double podium in the Grand Prix World Series in the RRML. Arrows is 4th. Simtek is 5th. from Arrows. BMS Italia, Super Aguirre's Timo Glock. Mark Genet is 9th for Minardi. Marcus Ericsson is 10th for Midland. And then the final stragglers home. Alexander Rossi for AGS. Pedro Diniz in the Midland. 13th, Gabriele Tarquini for BMS Italia. And Jean-Denis Delatraz in 14th place. Anthony Davidson is classified as a finisher despite his retirement. But it was certainly a crazy end to the season for the rest of them. Prost denied a finish in the end. A very tough end to their campaign. But it's victory and the title for British American Racing. Absolutely brilliant stuff for them and a great end to the year. Let us go down into the green room for the last time in this 2020 Grand Prix World Series to meet with our team managers after a phenomenal season. First of all, let us go and grab a word with our new champion, Tom Butterworth, manager of the British American Racing squad. It's been a long time coming, this, and it looked difficult at times, but today, masterclass from Verne. You are the champions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was tense. I've built a 1/8 scale version of the BAR purely out of the fingernails that I chewed through that race. So yeah, it was very, very tense. A shame Pascal couldn't even make it close to the finish, but Verne did the job. Congrats to the Manor team. They certainly have been the class of the second half of the season. And they proved it. Second and third for them. They did everything that they needed to do, everything they could do. So yeah, well done to them.
Of course, the first question I've got to ask after winning 4 races through the season and lifting the first ever Retro Racing Managers League Grand Prix title, will you be back to defend it?
Oh, 100%, yeah. Sorry, Jake, I'm going to have to stop because I've got a Verne in my throat.
I thought you might say something along those lines. Terrific stuff, Tom. Thank you very much indeed. Let's grab
a word. Great. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for doing a good job as well.
No problem at all. It's a pleasure. Let's grab a word with the vice champion of the season, Sam Hall, and the Manor team. That was always going to be a very tough year and a tough campaign, but you've got to give credit, and I'm sure you will do, to your drivers today. Brendon and Lucas doing a great job.
It was a good race for us. Easily our best race of the season, even though, obviously, congratulations to Tom and to Verne for getting both championships there. We're starting from P12, and I can't remember with Brendon, I can't remember where Lucas started, but both of them were in that sort of mid-pack of the grid. To get both cars on the podium, we never thought that was possible at all. It is fun. It is Degrassi's last race with us. We're replacing him with Max Chilton for purely because there's reliability issues. But yeah, I mean, BAR gets to take home the teapots. So it's all good.
And of course, with Manor back next year, it's all fine and dandy. Thank you very much, Sam. It's going to be great to see you again in Season 2. Let's have a word with a few of our other managers. Obviously, for the Arrows team, we should talk to Emma Butterworth as well. It's been a solid season for Arrows. A few victories in the can early season as well. And as an opening campaign, you guys can be very impressed to end it with a double points finish here at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, it was actually a really strong finish for the team today after a string of bad luck with engines. But we will be back next season, and we will be back with Kobayashi and Hulkenberg. So they both have retained their seats for next year.
Fantastic stuff. And obviously your quest for the title is going to be a really interesting one. We're all very excited to see what changes you guys make. But it's been a tough battle coming into this year. What do you think next year is going to hold? Will it be the same people fighting for the title again, do you think?
It depends on what changes are going to be made for next year. Obviously, we will be making an engine supplier change, so we will no longer be partnering with Alfa Romeo. We've still to agree what engine we will be taking next year, but I'll be keeping a very close
The BAR party has started behind you. The BAR party is well and truly started behind you. I think we will allow it to end there. Thank you, Emma, and thank you to the Butterworth household. Thank you very much indeed. Wow, what a way to end the drama of an absolutely phenomenal season. Absolutely phenomenal season. Absolutely incredible end to the year. We'll have a word with a few of our other team managers as the season continues. Let's see if there's a few more managers that we can have a word with. Obviously, we want to round off the season with a nice end for our other teams. Some of them obviously unable to make it to the flag, but there's still a lot of talking points. So let's have a word with Scott Woodwiss of the Simtech team. It was a tough afternoon for you guys. You were locked in the battle with arrows all the way through. I have a feeling that had there been just a couple more changes within the pit stops, I think there would have been a chance for you guys to grab a podium today, potentially.
Yeah, we struggled a bit with pace today. Obviously, massively disappointing that Dixon's suspension, smashed like a teapot on lap 3. So that's unfortunate. But no, Stoffel had pace, but I don't think it was really... compared to what the car can do, what it has done in the last few races, wasn't really that much more. But it's still solid points and it's still fifth position, so it's quite interesting. It's been an up and down season, but I think that when it came to the second, sort of the last 2/3 of it have been not perfect, but they've been better. We've managed to rise up the table a little bit, and it's been an interesting season to end up sort of in the top sort of. I'm not sure where we ended up in the points. But had Dixon not retired, the chance of getting higher up, maybe towards that top 5, might have been an option. I have to admit, during that race, during the last few weeks, just to confirm, first of all, whilst we're all confirming statuses for season 2, Simtech are continuing. We will be in for season 2, and we are also retaining Scott Dixon. Truthfully, and this might come as a bit of a shock to even him himself, I have been having some second thoughts about Stoffel. And yes, he's been scoring consistently, but he doesn't appear to have the ultimate pace and the ability to cut through the field like Scott did at Vancouver, for example. So if we're announcing drivers, and this is one I've thought about for quite a while and long and hard about a potential person that might be able to, if there was going to be a replacement, might to come in. So I'm going to declare it here and now in the season. Stoffel will stay with us, but he'll be moving over to a reserve driver role in case we do need to switch. Because I would like to confirm that his replacement in the second driver role is somebody who is a little bit left field, but he has driven an F1 car before, and he is classed as one of the top 20 drivers never to have raced an F1 car in the real world. So we're going to give him that opportunity for season 2. So I'd like to proudly announce that joining Scott Dixon next season will be someone who is a person who is from a fellow part of that area of the world. And so he will be joined next season by 7-time Supercars champion Jamie Whincup.
Now that is an absolute left field. That is going to be a really exciting battle next season, and that is that's a proper bombshell to drop on us post Laguna Seca. Thank you, Scott. We're looking forward to season 2 with Simtech. Let us have a final word for the year with Tom Cairns of the Prost squad. Tom, I have to say, bitter disappointment for the team. I mean, the car certainly had the pace for the majority of the season to run at the front, but reliability was always the downfall, and unfortunately today we don't even know where Pedro de la Rosa could have ended up, and a tough break for Jaime Alguersuari. It kind of sums up a frustrating season all in all.
It does, and that race result has contributed to our 60% retirement rate. So that's more retirements than finishes, Jake, which is a massive disappointment for our season. Clearly the Ford engine clearly hasn't been the most reliable out of all the other engines. I mean, the BAR Play Life engine's obviously been more reliable. Not the fastest, in my opinion, but definitely more reliable than the Ford engine that we've been using this season. We're happy to continue our relationship with Ford, but we are expecting a much improved reliability going into season 2. I'm happy to confirm that Alguersuari and De La Rosa have retained their places within the team. And Felipe Nasr, who participated in the Brno test earlier in the campaign, has been confirmed as our reserve driver for season 2. But obviously, it's been a positive season in a way, because where we were at the beginning of the season, we were absolutely nowhere. And when that budget came through from round 6, round 7, I should say, that was when our season very much began to be in full swing. But I am expecting a much improved campaign in season 2, because we need to make sure we have better reliability from our American partners Ford. And going forward with 2 wins achieved, 1 apiece for Alguersuari and De La Rosa, it gives them something to build on going into the next campaign. But De La Rosa will take some positive out of this campaign because I think he's 4th in the Drivers' Championship. Because where did Jenné finish in that race? Was it 7th? No, it was 8th. Wasn't
8th position in the Minardi, yes.
Yeah, so De La Rosa was 4th in the Drivers' Championship there, with Alguersuari, I believe, in 11th. So it could have been better, but it could have been worse at the same time. So I think we've got to take some positive out of the campaign. And 4th in the Constructors' Championship is not too bad at all.
Well, it's good to hear the positive side of Prost, obviously reflecting on the season, and great to see that the package will be back in its entirety for Season 2. Looking forward to that. Tova Smith of the Super Aguri team. Points for Timo Glock in the end there. It was looking a little bit hazy at times, but for Super Aguri, it's been a positive year. There have been race victories. Hopefully there will be some more to come.
I think it's been a bit of a bittersweet season, in all honesty, Jake. I mean, we had the 2 wins with Timo at the midpoint of the season. Things were starting to look up. But the main issue for us has been reliability. I mean, if you look at Timo Glock as an example, he's retired from 10 races this season, which honestly isn't really good enough. I mean, we've had the car to fight up there for the championship, but we haven't been able to finish the races. So that is something that we'll have to look at in the off-season, and hopefully we'll come back in Season 2 with a stronger car. While we're on the subject of Timo,
yes,
I had spoken to him prior to the race, and I was waiting until afterwards to confirm this. We sat down and had a nice old cup of tea and a chat about this. Timo has taken the decision to leave the team. So he will not be returning for Season 2, and in his place, alongside Robin Fraines, we will be promoting Antonio Felix da Costa.
Wow.
So we'll be bringing him back from MasterCard Lola and putting him into a race seat for Season 2. And we've already been entering into negotiations with a few drivers regarding the reserve driver role for next season. And we have reached an agreement with Oliver Rowland to join the team as our reserve.
Well, that's all sounding pretty spot on. We're looking forward to seeing how Super Aguri gets underway in Season 2. Thank you very much indeed, Topher. Let's have a quick catch up with Minardi and Alex Goldschmidt. There were already some announcements made by Minardi coming into the weekend, obviously, but you've managed to finish the season with points, so clearly a positive end to the year for you guys.
I think it's also positive because Mark now steps aside from a full-time seat, goes into a reserve driver role, because now we're going to have Jos Verstappen and Tom Christensen for Season 2 with me back at the helm once again. Great season for both Mark and Anthony, with their ups and downs along the way. Quite a few DNFs in the last part of the season, but Anthony, being the nice Brit that he is, he left us with the Royal Selangor tea set. With a very nice stainless steel teapot in there. So that reminds us of our British chum. So good for him. So Mark's going to be development for both C, obviously with his Nissan and Le Mans racing experience with Audi, alongside Timo Scheider, 2-time DTM champion, and also World RX driver with Munich Motorsport. So looking very, very confident towards hopefully what's going to be a slightly more improved campaign, but to have Mark as a key part of that is the right way to go. But yeah, a shame Anthony not finishing on his last race, but Mark getting points. We're pretty happy with it, and that puts us in the top 10 overall, both in the drivers and the constructors standing. So I'm pretty happy with the first effort.
Fantastic stuff. We've got time for 2 more quick words with our managers, I think, before we have to bail out on the broadcast. Phil Kinch of the AGS squad. I think it's another season to sum up of frustrations, but there was some glory back at Marrakesh with the team running first and second up until the retirement for Alex Rossi. But the victory at Marrakesh, certainly the highlight in a year that shows that there's definitely potential in this package. Whether or not it will turn into consistent race victories, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's definitely potential there. Like I say, as you agree completely with you, Marrakesh was the high point of the season. We're not forgetting that at all. We've used that to inspire the team and to push as hard as possible to improve the reliability and improve the speed, but it has been a downward trend. So, as with everyone else, reliability is the biggest issue to look at for next year. Again, AGS will be back. We're retaining the Mugen Honda engines, the Bridgestone tyre combination, so we're sticking with what we know works. And we've proven that earlier in the series. So, yeah, we're going to, like I say, tear apart the cars, put them back together again, do as we normally do, come back for Season 2 and hopefully have a better package and be able to challenge as we showed earlier in the year. Following on from everyone else, we're retaining Andre Lotterer.
Yep.
Because he has been the better performing driver of the two this year. Alex Rossi is separating from the team as we speak. His bags have been packed, thrown in the back of the car. The taxi's waiting for him, and he's being whisked off to the airport.
We'll tell him to get his skates on then. Is there an announcement about the second team?
Yeah, I know. I can confirm the second driver. So the second driver joined the team. Again, we've followed a similar route as we did with Alexander Rossi. We've gone for another Australian driver instead of who seems to be the choice joining the grid from other teams. We've signed Will Power to join Andre Lotterer for season 2. We are very, very confident about Will's abilities, already shown and proven previously. And on top of that, we've also confirmed that Pietro Fittipaldi will be staying with the team as their test and reserve driver for season 2. So yeah, it is a case of just getting Will up to speed, getting Andre focused on what he can do as a challenge for next year, and just making sure the cars have that reliability.
Sounds like a fantastic game plan. We're really excited to see what happens for AGS in Season 2. And finally, our last chat of the year with Ryan Ferris of the Onyx team. Now, it's not exactly ended the way you wanted today for Sebastian Bourdais or Takuma Sato, but I hear that there are some renewed contracts for Mr. Sato and for the Isuzu power plant, as well as a new driver coming on board for next year as well.
Yes, indeed. Obviously, it's quite a disappointing end to the year and has helped us quite a bit because we found general components in our car to be about as you chocolate teapot in sorts of situations. But yes, we are renewing and happy to say that we're keeping Sato and the Isuzu power plants for next season. We do need to work on our reliability, like all the other teams said. But however, Bourdais is going to be stepping back from his position as number 2 driver and will be our test driver. Will be replaced by Kazuki Nakajima Jr., who has been showing quite well that he's won the Japanese Super Formula twice and Le Mans World Endurance Championship. So he's shown that his true skills came along after he won.
I'm afraid to say we have lost the live feed there from Ryan Ferris. That is a real shame, but certainly we got the news there that Kazuki Nakajima will be on board with the team for next season, and I'm really excited to see what happens with the Onyx Isuzu in Season 2. If you want to get racing in the Retro Racing Managers League, we don't just have Grand Prix cars available, we also have a league currently running for the Group C Sports Car Challenge, but we've also got more leagues coming. If you're a British touring car fan, we're going to be doing a BTCC and Super Touring mod. If you like the World Touring Car Challenge, we'll be doing World and European touring cars later in the year as well. We've also got a career mode in Formula 1, starting from 1980 in Formula 1 and running race by race, year by year. And if you want to get involved in these games, then all you have to do is give us an email, downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk. You'll be added to the Facebook group, you'll be added to the Discord chat, and we will try and get as many people an opportunity to go racing in our AI leagues on Grand Prix 2, the Jeff Crumman Classic, as humanly possible. I really do hope that, as me, you have enjoyed this great form of motor racing as possible. The Minecraft of motorsport is now well and truly here to stay. It's continuing on, even if we come off lockdown. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, nothing's going to keep this teapot without its lid. I'm Jake Sanson. Thank you very much for being with us.